Good evening. Welcome to the Wakefield Municipal Gas and Light Department's March 4th, 2025 meeting of the Board of Commissioners. I call to order the meeting at 6:30 p.m. This meeting is being recorded. Do we have any members of the public?
Oh.
No. Okay. I do not have any opening remarks. Do any of the commissioners have any reports?
My only update is just the Massachusetts Light Commissioners Association's had its interagency rate working group webinar. So there's a recording of it if anyone's interested in watching it. It was interesting. There were a number of muni examples of various rate structures that were talked through. I mean, Groton's been evolving theirs over time. I think they now actually have a seasonal rate structure, which I didn't realize. So, yeah.
Any key takeaways?
I
Might be
can put them together for you if
Oh.
you guys wanted me to, but I
No.
hadn't prepared them for.
No, I mean, just off the top of your head, anything interesting
I
they're looking at
will-
or discussed?
I mean, the big thing is just the seasonal rate structures. Yeah, the winter, summer differences.
Jen asked us to look at some of the heat pump rates that are out there, and we have looked at a few of them. And I think in the coming months, I have Joey pulling some data right now, and I think we will at least tee up a discussion of like what a potential heat pump rate would look like. I think we can put something together. It'll be up to the board whether, but so Unitil has a heat pump rate. And the good news is the discount they give gets them down to twice as expensive as us. So, because they're really 2.5 times as expensive, but with the heat pump rate, they're just twice as expensive. So, but I think there's some things we can do. So, potentially create it's based on, obviously, if you're all electric, you're going to be generating more kilowatt hour sales. And so there's a lot of data we need to look at to see, all right, if we have the additional kilowatt hour sales, how much can we reduce the delivery charge by to get to the same spot so that the pie is still the same? And so we're working behind the scenes on, so probably in the next couple of months, we'll have something to at least begin a discussion.
Yeah, and actually that reminds me that the key area of discussion was really about, and confusion is really about, like, for a time, we wouldn't need to make a lot of infrastructure improvements because we have extra capacity in the winter. So that's how you can kind of bring on those customers at a lower, little bit lower rate. Now that obviously in the longer term doesn't, you will need to eventually make, but up to a certain point, you can bring on customers without too much impact.
And I think we mentioned last time the Unitil rate as a whole house rate. It's not just
Yes, yeah, they don't put a
have
separate
a
meter in.
separate meter.
Yeah, I mean, our recommendation would completely be that it's only for customers that are all electric. We wouldn't allow the customers that have added a heat pump but have not eliminated their other heating source. It wouldn't make sense.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay. Any other reports?
No.
Not, we can skip down to the Secretary's report and the minutes from February 12th. Is there any other edits that people wanted to make?
Nope.
No? Okay. Minor in.
I incorporated Sharon's and Jim.
No other edits?
I did have one edit, on page 6. In the middle of the paragraph, says Commissioner Daly explained that and it says Wakefield Municipal Gas and Lights legislators. Should we just say legislators representing Wakefield, or does it? I don't know if it matters. They're not really our legislators, they're the towns.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that change.
So I would say,
We could just say the two legislators. And leave out.
WMGLD.
okay,
So I will make a motion to approve the February 12th, 2025 minutes as amended. Second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Now we'll turn to our friends in the gas department. So who is going to be presenting tonight? We have
Jim Brown, who's the gas superintendent, Raven's our senior system engineer for gas, and Paul Robertson's our gas foreman. So I don't know what order you guys, are you gonna share the screen, Rave, or?
Yeah, I'm working on it. And Paul's gonna kick us off.
them.
How you guys doing?
Good,
Good,
how are you?
good. How are you guys?
Hanging in there.
It's up front. 13, 14. 13.
Okay, we can see your slides.
Gotta go full screen with that, Rave.
Mm, And home. Sorry.
So the top left, a little next to the round arrow.
Thank
Or
you.
that.
Use the search feature. Okay.
So we're starting off from last year's construction review where we had a meeting with you guys and basically we had a dead main project from Oak Street with a bunch of side streets we had finished. We completed that in early August, so that got rid of a good section of steel and coated steel for some of the paving projects for the DPW. After that, we kind of focused on hammering out some leaks. So we got a lot of those repairs replaced in 24 and getting rid of some coated steel replacement as well. Jimmy will share those numbers that we have. We kicked off with the grant project, Water Street and Crescent Street. At this point, we're pretty close. We still have some main to run on Water Street and basically just services on that section there to finish up. So hopefully that will be closing out pretty soon. And then Jimmy will take us into our overview.
Is Water Street on the DPW repave list after this?
It will be at some point, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so
Is
Raven
that,
put together.
I'm sorry, I have a question. Is that information public, the paving schedule for the town?
Yeah, I think the
Yeah,
town should,
DPW.
yeah, the DPW.
Have
should.
it, it's public?
It is
Okay.
public, yeah.
It's probably on their website.
Okay. Thank
Yeah, you
you.
could probably get the streets. We actually just had a construction meeting with them last week.
Yeah, we try to meet with them twice a year because their priorities change and sometimes ours do. So we try to get on the same page about what we're gonna work on next, what helps them, what they might need to kick out an extra year. And so we've been having those meetings for at least the past 6 or 7 years that have been very productive, so.
Great.
Okay, so Raven's taken this graph and put it together for us, starting from 21, as you can see. And there's been quite a bit of plastic that's been put into the system over the years. We'd try to shoot for like 1.5 miles, if get aggressive with 2 miles a year. As Paul was saying, the coated steel that calls for, it has to be inspected and tested every 3 years. So we had some unprotected sections. And, it's a cost thing as well, but you can get in trouble with the DPU with the unprotected sections. So we went through and prioritized those, and we did a lot of plastic on the coated steel main. We got a little aggressive with that today, with this year. So it's working out really well. So it's 88, it's almost 90% plastic, which after this year will probably be there. And, it's moving along really well. The services, with that go all outside 100%. So it's working out really well. What we're setting up as far as the percentages. Then we can jump over to our leaks. As you can see, the leaks have gone down significantly over the past years. From 18 to now, we're down to 13. There's actually 2 more that are coming off the books with the grant project we're currently working on. One at Wakefield Ave at Bancroft. So the leaks, environmentally significant leaks, which is 50% reads or more. We don't have any left, so they're all non-significant, which means that the reads on them are like under 20%, which is, very good. It's a system it's working out really well as far as replacement on the steel services. And on the systems, the meters, everything now we're 100% move out on any service we touch, all the inside services. So as you can see, the numbers are way up as far as percentages of outside meter sets, which we instituted this since Lawrence, what happened up there, over pressurization. So we're putting everything outside now and being aggressive with it. And it also helps on our meter change. We have to change meters every 7 years. So we have a cycle where we balance the numbers out to 1,000 per year. And the outside meters have bypass bars on them, which allows us just to not interrupt service to customers. We bypass it with a gauge, change the meters out. And, so it's a lot more efficient that way. And also when we do our leak surveys, we have to test each service as far as corrosion, and that moves that along pretty well.
Jimmy.
Yeah.
So if someone has an outside gas meter that needs to be replaced, do you even notify the customer, or do you just replace it and they don't even know?
Yeah. No, we are at this day and age. We set up appointments with them, Sarah, Tyler, and them, and a couple of girls in the office. We always notify people who are coming, because this day and age, they don't know who's on their front lawn, and they'll end up calling the police. And we put notifications on the website as well.
Thanks.
Okay. And also, when we go out and we do services, we send letters like a week to 2 weeks before we go. If we're doing a neighborhood, we'll distribute letters stating like we're doing the dead main, and then upon completion of that, our guys will come in live in that section up and change services over, and we will make appointments with them. So communication's working out pretty well.
How long does it take to replace 1 meter? Just on average move it outside, move it outside.
To move it outside, you're usually talking a day, because you're going to do the whole service.
Okay.
So you're going from street into house, and then we got to pipe back through the house, drill holes in the siding, rehook the appliances that they have inside. So it's a little bit of work on both sides, on the street crew side as well as the service guys. Service guys do all the piping and meter changes, and the street crew does all the main work, and then ditch witch through the yard to the house, to the outside meter set.
And that's separate from the program meter replacements,
Yeah.
which have to be done about 1,000 a year.
7-year cycle, right?
7-year cycle, yeah.
7-year cycle, correct.
Yeah, and early on in Jimmy's tenure, we were able to kind of balance that out. So they range from about 970 to 1,100 plus or minus. So we've kind of levelized that number. So
Yeah, it's a lot more manageable now, and like moving the meters outside is fantastic because the meter change takes 15, 20 minutes to do. You know, every year you have to meet that number and do a report to the DPU, otherwise you could get in a little trouble with that. So we have it down to, pretty good setup.
Most of the utilities in New England fell way behind during COVID and we did not. And a big part of it is because of the outside meter changes. We saved the inside ones as COVID moved along, but we were able to pound out a ton of outside meters during COVID and we stayed on schedule. So.
Right.
Yeah. So this year is something that I never thought I'd see in my lifetime as a gas guy, is that we have 0 cast iron mains in the system now. We retired the last piece up on Otis Street with this latest grant job. And that takes care of a lot of, like, this winter, especially, like, we haven't had frost like we've had now, but we've had a significant frost this year where it's 3 feet. And what happens with cast iron is the frost goes down, it wraps around the pipe and it cracks it. And it's kind of high, it's dangerous, and it's hard to find where the leak is, until you get down past the frost. And sometimes the frost is right around the pipe. So once you have a significant frost, it adds another cost to it, where you have to survey your cast iron system every day until the frost is out of the ground. So now we don't have any. So that's a big accomplishment as far as the gas industry is concerned.
That's where you see those sniffers on the trucks that are driving the street, with the cones hanging off them.
Yeah.
So that's how you have to survey every day during the frost season on any cast iron.
Jimmy, congrats on that. I know that was a big
Yeah.
thing that you've been working towards. Are we the?
Yeah.
No,
New England
Berkshire
system? Okay.
Berkshire got theirs out, but I think we might be the second. Ray,
Yeah.
do you know if we're the second?
I don't know for sure, but I don't know of anybody saying that they've also completed this. I know Holyoke has a ton of cast iron.
They have
Holyoke,
miles.
Westfield, and Middleborough all have a lot left, so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
they have like 60 miles of cast iron, which is crazy.
yeah. So at least
it's a
the
nice
Massachusetts
thing.
were the first for the munis.
Yeah, so
We wanted a commemorative piece of the cast iron to celebrate.
yeah, we did save a little piece. Paul has it in his living room on a mantle.
Oh.
So as you can see on the coated steel, the cathodic protection it's another way that you can get in trouble with the DPU if you have unprotected sections and you have certain time criteria to meet to fix it. So what we did was just took an aggressive approach at going out and replacing the mains, because they weren't all like 2-3 mile mains, they're all pieces. So while the contractors were doing their stuff, we went out and the street crew replaced a lot of the issues we had, and we only have a couple test stations left to do. So we're actually starting that in the next couple of weeks. Arc Engineering's coming in to do a couple more test points, fix those, and then we'll be clean with the DPU as far as reporting. So that's working out very well. And we only have 11 miles of bare steel in the ground. And I know it sounds like a lot, but it really is not a lot. I mean, we're doing, and we'll get into that after, Raven. We'll get into what we're doing this year on that. So that's pretty much it. I'll let Raven take it from here.
Thank you for the summary of what we've been doing. Now I'm going to go through what we're thinking about for 2025. So our major project of the year is going to be Main Street, the southern section in Greenwood. We're currently bidding it out, and hopefully that will start probably end of March, beginning April, getting the main in the ground, and then we'll follow and do all the services like usual. But it's going to be a big stretch and a busy project for us because there's a lot going on, obviously, in the shop area, and there's a lot of utilities underground. So it's definitely going to take some time, but we're ready to go on it. and it will have a lot of benefits because there's 3 existing leaks and we get a lot of calls on odor gas in that area. So we get dispatched there, and taking care of the section will also help a lot of our pressure problems. So we'll be making a lot of headway with this project, even though it might take a little bit of time. And like we talked about, it aligns with the DPW paving plans. So as we were talking about, we met with them, and they're pretty positive on that they're going to be doing it next year. So it's good that we'll be done and out of there.
Jimmy, you want to just mention the grid main that's there also, and the fact that we constantly battle with them over whose leak it is?
Yeah.
National Grid has a main that runs from Greenwood Street back down Main Street towards the square and up North Ave. So during the winter months, you get the cold and you get the, stuff starts popping off the steel mains and stuff. So we dug a few leaks, and they've been their leaks. And so I finally got together, I contacted their engineering department and kind of put a little pressure on them with this new Main Street project through the DPW to replace all their main. So they did that before we're going in this year. Their main is all plastic from Greenwood Street back down to halfway to Merriam Street, which is a big advantage for us on the leak end. And like Raven said, we have some issues with Grid had there, so now ours are going to be replaced. And also, this is one of the last sections of Main on main streets in Wakefield that need to be replaced. So the rest of them are like off the beaten path in neighborhoods and things like that, little sections. This is the last really big section that we have to do. So we're in really good shape with the replacement program on this. Sorry, Ray, go ahead.
What's the color coding represent?
So plastic is yellow.
Okay.
That's the color of the actual pipe, so it just helps
That makes
us.
sense.
And then the red is the bare steel, and then so there's a lot of that. And then you can see that, as Jimmy was kind of talking about, the purple is the coated steel. So you can see how it's kind of in more like small sections. So it's every little purple section you have to test. So the more you can get rid of, the less testing we'll have to do.
Is the project just on Main Street, or is it within the square, even including streets that are off of Main Street?
It is just on Main Street, and then just one side street, the purple one that's in that project. But we're doing just the main on Main Street, and then enough to get off of the Main Street for paving. So just like 40 to 60 feet off of the main road.
There's like 8 laterals that go to each street, going down from Humphrey Street all the way down to Forest. So we go like 100 feet outside the perimeter of the paving, so that we don't have to go back, and we extend the next project to rip up new paving. So there's like I think 8 laterals that we have to do with that project and tie them all in.
Well, let me ask one more question. So if you look at Greenwood Street there, like the third house in off Main or fourth house, that one's red. Is that just a steel service?
Are you asking about this one?
No, go back towards Main Street.
Right
Yeah,
here?
right there. Yep.
That is the railroad crossing. So it's,
Oh, so steel's
That's
under the
a-
tracks.
Under the track thing.
yeah, that's a separate project that you have to go through the
Okay.
MBTA and get clearance to do that work. So
Directionally bore underneath the tracks.
It's quite
You
a
know what the
project.
directional
yeah,
bore-
each one would have a different approach probably, but yeah, we just have gone up to each side and stopped because you have to have the railroad trading and stuff, and the stop work of the line and stuff. So
I think
it's
Chestnut
corded.
Chestnut Street and Greenwood Street are the only 2 that aren't plastic under the tracks. We did Broadway a few years ago. When they took that all down, we put new plastic under there. Prospect is plastic going through, and Forest is plastic going through. So there's only two left to do that with, like, I don't know, I want to say like maybe 30 feet of steel underneath the tracks. But that's a major project dealing with the MBTA. They're kind of tough.
A lot of planning on that, so.
So how long will this project take?
We
complete.
allow 6 weeks for the contractor to put the dead main in. And then we'll go back when the contractors are out of town and we'll liven up the mains and do the sections and the services tied over. Probably take us 2.5, 3 months, maybe, depending on number of services,
Probably
right in that time frame.
total 4 to 5 months is a
Yeah.
decent estimate. It's pretty busy with a lot of businesses and stuff, so to schedule everything, and 4 or 5 months is a good estimate.
And this has been our working model for the past 10 years now, where we've done the dead main in the early spring and then our guys work on the tie-ins and the cutovers a good part of the rest of the year. While they're working on the dead main, as Ray said, we met with the DPW last week and just shuffled a couple of our streets so our guys will be doing some other stuff while this is going on before they go over to the tie-ins and the cutovers for this stuff. We have a list of work that Jimmy and Paul will be working on for the next 2 months while this is going on, and then our guys will jump over to this.
Okay.
I just wanted to go through the PHMSA grants that we've done in the past few years. So Paul talked about the Water Street and Crescent Street one that we're currently in the construction phase of. So hopefully that'll be done within the next couple weeks so we can focus on the Main Street project, but they might overlap a little bit, but it's good that we're coming up to closing that out in terms of construction. We did apply for the 2023 round of funding, but we took a leap and went for a big chunk, and we weren't approved or awarded it, but it's good to keep our hat in the ring and show that we're still interested and able to fill out the application and show that we're able to do all that. But we did apply again in 2024, and we were awarded for one of our projects on Morrison Road. It'll be about a mile of replacement. That was last year. We filled out the application in June and we were awarded in October, and we're just waiting now, kind of in a holding pattern because of the changes in the federal government. We have not been told anything besides we're just waiting to hear more information at this time. So hopefully we can at least get through the environmental survey soon that you have to do before you can start your project. So fingers crossed that we can at least start that soon, but that's where we are with that. Yeah, guys have any other questions, I'm sure we can answer them. Thank you for listening to what we've been doing in the gas department.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
guys.
you.
Appreciate it.
I don't think Raven and Joe and Paul have given themselves enough credit for getting that second grant.
Yeah.
Because the grant, I think a good reason we received that grant was how easy and effective we were executing the first grant. Because we were probably the first in the nation to get the okay to proceed, and our communication with them has been really strong. So I think that helped us get that second grant.
Excellent.
Wonderful.
These are 50% grants or
No, the
100%? 100%.
Yeah, again, by the time you get going and the cost and all that.
Yeah.
So
There might be some variance.
we have probably about that whole Water Street project is still gonna cost us about 600,000. But we got $1 million too, so it's almost a $2 million project that we're getting for $600,000.
Yeah.
That's great.
Excellent. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Wish you luck on the next grant. Hopefully they'll come through.
Yeah, Like I said, the person that was the liaison for the first grant is also for the second side.
Same person.
Yeah. So she's been helpful. So keep our fingers crossed.
Any other questions?
Nope.
I did have one question just about the plastic. What's the lifespan of once it's in the ground? I mean, obviously, weather plays a big role, but before you have to go in and replace it again.
The worst thing with plastic is third-party damage is the only problem.
Okay,
But we have good maps to it. We run a wire with it so we can clip on, mark the locations on the dig safe side of the gas work. So that we get, we have good maps and good locations on it. And the substation guys go out and mark everything out. The only problem with the plastic is when they hit it, it's, they can't feel that and it's going to come out of the ground and we got to go fix it, shut it down and fix it. But the life expectancy that on this, I don't see it ending.
okay.
The federal government says it's between 70 and 100 years.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay,
Almost longer than a human life. Nothing is longer than.
okay, great, thank you.
So Jimmy, you're not gonna have to replace any plastic main, don't worry.
I'm out.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next on our agenda. We have old business any energy park updates?
Things have been moving very well up there. Obviously on and off with weather and with frost. But the manholes have been set, as we said last month. There's been a lot of conduit. So we made the decision to try to do as much work with our own crews as possible. Billy Gaffney's crew that did all the work at Wakefield Ave, they did all that conduit work. Most places will farm that work out. Our guys did an amazing job with that at the Wakefield Ave project. So they rolled up their sleeves. They wanted to attack this energy park project. So all the work for conduit at this project is being done by our own guys. And they have done a ton of work already, even though the weather involves a lot of pumping because a lot of the water runoff from the hill is ending up down near the energy park. So they've been doing a lot of water management. But those two manholes have been piped in and the conduit work along Hemlock itself. And now they've started to expand into the property. The first priority for the conduit work is obviously from the battery portion because we're going to try to have that up and running by June. We'll have a temporary piece of switchgear. So all the conduit work for that's going to be done within the next couple of weeks. And the battery contractor has been on site now for about 3 weeks, working on their part, putting in foundations and all that stuff. So that's all moving along. In terms of schedule, both schools seem to be on schedule. We're still holding weekly coordination meetings. So Vinny's been covering those with Dave out. And I think we've been making great progress. The tech is obviously a little bit further ahead, so the technical questions with the tech project are early, keep Vinny quite busy. But I think everything's going well. I think we talked about last month, the solar is getting set to go out to bid probably next month, probably in April. We'll go out to bid for the solar for next year when the roofs are done. So
It'll be interesting to see how many quotes we get on that.
Yeah.
And get many for this one.
now, yeah, so we'll have to see
I watched their stock price too, Amoresco,
yeah.
and it hit like $90 at one point a year ago. Today it's $9.
Yeah,
Are you kidding?
Unbelievable.
so,
So, but are you going out for the solar for both buildings at the same time?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a much bigger project than this
Mhm.
building, if you put them.
Oh, yeah, of course,
oh
yeah.
yeah, and we're
So
also,
that might attract.
It might, yeah.
and we're also gonna ask for unit pricing to add on to potentially a couple more public buildings if possible, so if,
Oh, good.
yeah, so.
Um,
That's a great idea.
thanks.
circling back to the water, is the water just kind of temporary because of construction, or is that going to be kind of an ongoing?
That'll be, that'll be an ongoing thing to some extent, but it's worse during construction, obviously, so.
I don't know if that was something that was unexpected.
I think the amount that we're seeing is the runoff of the hill. We're also, once we get to the backside of the property, we're gonna do some additional grading. And the full drainage system is not in yet, obviously, so a lot of the water that's gonna come off that hill will be routed around into drains. And that's not all connected yet, so it will get better, but there's a lot of water that runs off that. But we're in the midst of a combination of taking out rock. We haven't finished the drainage, so a lot of it's been settling right at that low spot, obviously, because we dug a hole and
Yeah.
put stuff in it, so.
Dave
But-
said there was a lot of ledge.
Yeah, there's a ton of ledge on where the driveway goes in, that they've been hammering out the ledge for a while. But we're in pretty good shape. The fact that they got those manholes set was pretty amazing. You know, they're basically sunk 2 major sized manholes in rock, so. And the exits out for the conduit. Oh, we got a helper.
What's that?
That was Jimmy's cat.
Aw.
Yeah, so I think that it's all been moving along pretty well, and Vinny's done a good job grabbing the reins. Did it come back?
Yeah. Persistent.
Very persistent cat,
Yeah.
lap cat. Oh, gosh, you're killing me.
Aw.
That's okay. It wouldn't be the first animal that's joined our meeting.
It was the dog that was at the union meeting this morning.
Oh, that's Tyler's.
Oh,
Yeah,
I had a friend.
yeah. That was Bauer.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, a golden. We have 2 goldens. We have a Bernedoodle. We have a mini golden doodle. We have occasionally King Charles Terrier, Cavaliers. So.
okay. Next on the agenda, were there any other updates?
I don't think so, unless there was any questions.
Commercial time of use. E-rate,
Joe's gonna,
Joe.
so we began this discussion 2 months ago. We postponed it last month because our agenda was so full. But we're gonna revisit some of the technical aspects of it.
Now let me just, I'll share my screen real quick. Can everyone see that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so just because I think it's been a couple months, just to give a refresher on the first draft rate we were looking at. So, we're looking at the commercial time of use rate. This was the one I presented a couple months ago. And so some of the assumptions we're making is we're doing it on 300 kilowatt capacity. I mean, it scales it up and down depending on capacity, but just for the sake of simplicity, this is if someone put 2 150 kilowatt DC fast chargers at a specific location. So our recommendation was a rate savings of 5 cents on the off peak and then a premium of just shy of 9 cents. So the key player as far as this rate goes is unlike the residential rate where I think you can make the penalty extremely, extremely high because the behavior is easier to kind of change. This rate is different where if it's a publicly available charger, some people have to charge just like if it's a gas station. If you're low, you go to the gas station that's 350, even though the one local to you maybe is in the twos or something like that. So there is like a breaking point for a number. Obviously, you can't go too high. So that's the other piece of it. So one of the analysis that I did was looking at off peak and on peak of some of the level 3 chargers in town. So currently the off peak is 66% of the time, and then on peak is 34% of the charging. So part of putting the rate together is trying to figure out based on what rate we offer, how much behavior change is going to exist. So I guess on our first target would be to get it to 75-25, because we're not going to get it to 100%, 0% like we do. Like for the people who are on our residential rate, that's basically it's like 99.9% off peak and then small sliver on peak. So kind of looking at this piece here, this just shows 3 different behavior change scenarios. So this is no behavior change if we did it with the rate, and it shows over a 3-year period we're losing a little bit of money. And then if there's a moderate change, it kind of is like that's the break even point, which would be about that would be about 4.5%. It's because of the change here is about 9%, and then this would be if we get the full desired change, and that's where we would make money, so to speak, but not really. It's really the avoided costs. As you can see, the loss of revenue is actually greater than the added revenue of the premium rate in that situation. So that's kind of the old framework. I think one of the things that the board asked to see was, are there other people doing these rates? How are they doing them? So that's kind of one of the things I prepared for today is looking at, there's a couple of municipal utilities that have rates. So Concord has one where the customer charge is waived. Their demand charge is actually lowered significantly. And so the savings off peak would be around 4 cents. I mean, similar to our 5 cents, and then their increase would be 16 cents. Obviously, the higher the capacity of the installed charges, the more impact they have savings wise, as opposed to just a standard demand rate. So there's a little extra detail up here. Holyoke has no demand charge listed, but what they do is it's kind of an interesting rate. It mirrors the IOUs a little bit in that it uses a load factor and it puts you into specific categories based on the usage of the charger. It's to me, it's a little bit complex and probably would be a billing nightmare. So I don't imagine we would recommend this scenario, but if you're interested, it's the highest 15-minute demand divided by the number of days in a billing cycle multiplied by the hours in a day, so 24. Just a little example for the Quanta power charges for February. The usage was about 12,000. Demand is the 125 kilowatts. So the load factor at those chargers would be just shy of 14%, which would put us into the level 2 category. And so the different level categories, it shows there's different savings in premiums, or there's different premiums rather. The savings are all the same on the off-peak, but there's different premiums associated with it. So if you're a really high usage electric vehicle charger, it's actually not as much of a penalty for those ones. Whereas if you're a lower end usage, there is a higher penalty. So
Can I interrupt? Sorry.
Sure,
For
yeah.
the Holyoke plan, I don't really understand it. So like, looking back where you just were, if you could.
Up here.
All right, yeah. So in that Holyoke row right there, so that means there's a customer charge and there's a transmission charge, peak and off peak, distribution charge, energy charge, peak and off peak, and then this other, that's in addition to the energy charge?
Yep. Yeah. So that's an other kind of add-on.
So that's in place of the demand charge.
Yep, exactly. That would be so one of the things that I'm in the process of doing is reaching out to Concord and Holyoke because not that we have to copy their rates, but I'd be interested to know, why did Holyoke go in play in this way, whereas to me Concord seems more reasonable, less complex, easier to do on a billing side of things. I mean, similar to what we suggested in the first place, I think is pretty easy on the billing side as well. But just to see what their logic is on those two rates and the differences.
Does Holyoke, do they have like some sort of large fleet charging
That I'm not sure of. I know
I mean, I know that they have a data center. I'm just wondering if they've got some sort of demand that, where they have folks falling into level 3
Well-
regularly.
That's kind of related to a question that I had. So the rates in Concord and Holyoke, are they meant for fleet or are they just commercial, like DC fast charging station rates for,
So I believe they're for both. I know for sure, like I
For the
read
public.
Concord's I know is for both. It actually mentions I think 3 different cases for which it is. Holyoke, I'd have to double check the rate sheet again, to see, but I'm pretty sure Concord is. But I can check on Holyoke. But yeah, it's a good point, is do they have some that even get into that level 3 load factor? Because our charges are frequent use. I mean, February maybe isn't the highest usage for a particular month, but I don't know that the math would even work out that it would get into that level 3 category. So
Yeah, I'm trying to process. The load factor is a function of the size of the battery in the vehicle or the
No.
number of vehicles?
no,
So
so it'd be like the charger has a certain capacity. So our chargers at the head of the lake combined are 125 kilowatts. So for simplicity, that's the demand. That's the highest demand it's going to read over
Okay,
the course of a month. And so
Got
it's just a calculation that sees kind of, it's almost like it's similar to like solar, I think, where the capacity factor, or I think that's what it's called, where it's like it takes a certain, it's like, okay, if it was running at full blast 24 hours, it would produce this, but this is saying really it's running at 13% of if it was running full blast, I think. Again, it's kind of used more to show. I don't think we would go down this route. I mean, trying to explain this to people, and as well as the billing side of things, I think would just be, I don't know,
so
as Pete would
Yeah.
say, a popsicle headache.
I was struggling with is like Quantapowhat is a level 3, but it's not anywhere close to the load factor of 30%. So why is it so far off of a level 3 load factor?
Well,
its
it's confusing in the fact that it's called their levels. Really, it shouldn't be called levels because that just confuses things with the charges.
it's not a level 3 charger. It's
Level 3
here,
billing
got
tier.
here.
Yeah,
Got it.
yeah.
That-
So, like-
tier 2,
like-
tier
Yeah,
3.
billing tiers or whatever, yeah.
It's like,
So here's
okay.
actually, I think they just didn't want to maybe copy the investor-owned utilities. That's just maybe my guess on it. Because if you see, they do a load factor as well down here. Theirs is a little bit different too, but they call them schedules instead of levels. Which schedules I think is a lot better nomenclature for that, because the levels is confusing. Because you say I have a level 3 charger or a DC
Yeah.
fast charger, you're
Okay,
gonna
just
think
assume it's
I
the
should-
equipment. Yeah.
Okay, I follow.
So the reason I asked whether these rates were geared towards fleet versus just a commercial, like DC fast charging stations for a commercial entity that might want to install a charging station at their property or, at their business. Is because, what we've heard, I was a member of the Alliance for Transportation Electrification, and they're part of their rate design task force around fast charging. And they, a lot of people that are businesses that wanted to install DC fast charging said that having a low load factor, in the beginning, when you first install the equipment, that was a huge barrier because the rates would be very expensive. But
Yep.
as load factor increases, then the station becomes more economic for the owner. So as a way to kind of get over the hump of, first the initial implementation cost of the equipment and deployment of the charger, and then getting over the hump of huge demand charges for a low load factor in the beginning when they're first installed. National Grid and I think Eversource and Unitil all have the same commercial DC fast charging rate with the 4 tiers,
Yep.
which is meant to, so that you pay zero demand charges if your load factor is less than 5%.
Yep.
And then you pay, 5% sorry, you start, increases, your demand charge increases as your load factor increases.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, that's why. Yeah.
So that was not meant for fleets per se, it was just meant for businesses that wanted to install, to incentivize them to install fast charging stations. So,
That makes sense. Yeah, and I think the IOUs, theirs seems to be more focused on the demand side anyway, I think, and very large customers. Like as I was looking at it, it's recommended for, I think for Unitil, it was saying 120,000 kilowatt hours a month or more. And then on National Grid side, I think it was 200 kilowatts of demand or higher,
and
which is
yes,
small, which you could probably get a lot easier than the 120,000 kilowatt hours a month.
and so, yeah, I'll just say that for National Grid, this DC like fast charging rate was basically an overlay to the existing commercial
Yep.
free rates. So you didn't have to create a new rate class, or it's just kind of like for those customers that have that are installing new EV stations for commercial use, they can go on to this rate. So
Yep.
from
That's
a,
kind of what I found too, is it's not a true commercial EV time of use rate. Like in the way that we're looking at it, it seems to go hand in hand with another rate. I mean, even with some of the name, like, time of use rate, it doesn't say, EV time of use rate. And then this one's, electric vehicle demand charge alternative.
right,
So it's really focused on the demand side, I think. It was
yeah,
where Schedule D, I think, is like their regular demand charge.
yep,
And then some of the other schedules are, like you said, that, that shows the load factors that correspond with
yeah.
these.
I mean, I've seen other utilities have a rate that like National Grid, where that it's used for EV charging stations, but it's also used for industrial um commercial customers that have this load factor issue where like they have a piece of industrial equipment that they use maybe a few times a month. And then their demand charges go through the roof because it's, their load factor is quite low. So,
Yeah, because it's not going all the time. Like if it
yes,
just went
not going all the time. Yeah,
one time in a month, it's still gonna read that highest 15-minute interval
right,
of whatever it was, but really it's not, it's only going once or twice a month, depending on what it is. I mean, charge is probably more frequently used, but I guess, yeah, that's where the load factor calculation comes in to say if it is frequently used, then it'll kick you back up to
right.
the Schedule D or closer to that. But again, I think for us, this doesn't make that much sense. But that's kind of what Unitil and National Grid are doing.
But do you think there would be a barrier to customers that want to install commercial charging stations? Do you think the load factor would be a barrier, or because our rates are different?
I think
It
I
wouldn't,
think I think one of the things, and this is just, I mean, these aren't final numbers or anything, but I think including the demand as something where demand is reduced, I think that's a good idea. It even allows us, I think, to increase the premium that we can charge on that side because we're saving the customer a bunch on the demand side, whereas, you know, traditionally they would have to have, you know, they'd be on the hook for the 1150 per kilowatt at the, you know, let's say this is the 300 kilowatt scenario. So even as a drop in this case, you know, dropping it to $9 from the 1150, that's for this situation, it's a $750 a month savings to do that. So that combined with the 5 cent savings, I think, is a good spot to be in. That's kind of what I think, including the demand in there is a good idea for those situations. How it's done, I mean, that I think to have tiers, I wouldn't recommend that just because there might be billing restrictive, but there might be a number in there. I think 9 is a solid number, but if there's another number, you know, we can look at that.
I do think that we've tried to, in Wakefield as a whole, keep our rates much simpler than some of the more complicated things. So I don't think tiers is, plus I don't know if our billing system could handle it, but I think simpler is always,
Yeah,
Well, then
it's also
how often
many
would you have
customers
to,
Are we talking about,
yeah.
right?
yeah.
yeah, and then, you know, how often would you have to monitor load factors? You know, would you look at it, you know, every month, every year?
Well-
That's the other. I mean, I think they might look at it every year, but it would be something that someone has to, you know, to look at unless it can be automatically done in the system. But that again is, I mean, can we do that, or maybe we can, but what's the cost? Is it
Yeah.
gonna break something else in the system? And for you know, for maybe a handful of customers,
Yeah.
do it.
I'll just say I worked on this rate, the one that National Grid, the one that's shown here. And we did monitor it on a monthly basis, the load factor, and it was calculated over a year, averaged out over a year. And then we did initially, I think, implement it on a manual basis. And then we're looking to, as customers, you know, more customers got on it, to automate that. But so,
Do you recall how many customer, like, how did,
I mean-
how did it go?
so I was involved in getting it approved, like developing it and getting it approved at
Not
the
the
DPU,
monitor.
but I haven't, I wasn't involved in implementation, so, but that was the plan. We had to come up with a plan. So.
The manual piece is a little bit troubling to me.
Yes, I know, it always is.
Yeah, I mean, is it our sense that just to say on a load factor thing, is that a 13 point whatever % load factor is actually pretty high for what we might see, and we would see lower? I'm just
I mean,
curious.
I mean, what I know is that the charges that we have at the head of the lake are used a lot. You know, that's their high usage charges. So I mean, what that means to me, at least looking, I mean, 14%, and maybe that's February is maybe a little bit lower. Maybe it usually trends, you know, and I'll have to look back at some of maybe the summer months where people are walking the lake more and things like that. But, you know, I would think that should be high. So, I mean,
So if
so
we
I
were to-
think, well, one of the things to consider too is, you know, Tom, I think you kind of maybe hit the nail on the head with Holyoke is seeing, is there maybe like a bus company, do all their buses, are they all electric? Because if you look at the way that this is structured, I mean, Schedule D is just under that, what the Quanta Power charges were for February.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and theirs is what, 30% for I'll call it tier 3. And just doing a really quick search, just found, you know, the Holyoke Mall has 9 DC fast chargers. So, you know, if I'm just extrapolating from our usage, you know, 4 to 5 chargers with our usage here puts it, you know, would put us at the tier 3 if we were to have, you know, 4 to 5 chargers with the same usage profile. At a, you know, on a single meter would get you to that 30% ish load factor.
So maybe it's not a barrier.
Yeah,
Is that
I
what
know.
you're saying?
I don't think it's very, but I do agree that the keeping it simple is the way to go. But just trying to figure out where they were coming from. And that's just what I thought. Like they could have some sort of large fleet business or a couple of them that require, that type of load,
So,
I mean, I think the goal initially is to make sure that, my goal initially, if I think about it, is to make sure that the customers that have a lot of vehicles and are really would use this and use this well, join this rate.
right.
And that to me says not the low load factor customers, but the ones that actually think that they would be,
Yes.
right, investing in this for a reason and like.
So if the target customer are businesses that have fleets and they're planning to get on this rate for their fleet charging, then that shouldn't, the low load factor wouldn't be an issue. Like you wouldn't have to incentivize this rate that National Grid developed was for those customers that wanted to install a fast charger, but were turned off by all the exorbitant costs.
And I think we have two types of commercial customers. You have the commercial customer that has a fleet that can be charged kind of under what our residential program where the fleet comes back and can charge overnight and ready for the AM. And then I think you have, and it's probably a variation of this commercial customer, a commercial customer that has public DC fast charging, like the gas station, or a commercial business where their fleet is coming and going at all hours, whether it's a service that's
Like a taxi.
Ambulance.
Taxis, ambulances, gas and light, right? That's someone that's operating 24/7 and their vehicles need to charge quickly and are back out. So I think, taxi livery service is a good example of that. So how we craft the rate to incorporate those kind of two different businesses and have them utilize the rate and not be a barrier, I think is kind of the goal.
So where do we stand right now, Joe, in terms of a firm proposal to the board?
I think what we were looking for tonight was, we were asked to look into this for data points. I think Joe's made that tweak around the demand charge, and I think, are there any other comments that we need to refine? If not, do we want to proceed with?
So are we talking page 45?
Yeah, I wanted to be clear on which page we're talking about because there's 45 and there's 46.
I think 46 was right. Joe, keep me on it. Was 46 the example you gave us 2 months ago?
Whatever the one that comes out, I have it open just separately, but it's whatever the first one that shows up is actually the new one, and then
all right. So this is the proposed.
So the original, so page 46 is the original, page 45 is the proposed.
Yep.
Yeah, so the original was, we would, if they didn't change behavior, we end up losing money. The new proposal increases the premium so that we actually make money in every scenario.
Yep.
Well, it's more, we have you avoid the cost.
Ratepayers make money
Mhm.
in every scenario. Yeah.
That's and especially with the demand drop too, that is kind of a factor.
Well, I look at this as kind of like a situation where we've done in the past with rates, which is like, we'll put this in place and evaluate it over 6 months or a year, and then maybe tweak the rates if we have to. So I would say, let's go for one, my question last time was, is the initial proposal revenue neutral for the class that would be in the people who come off of a commercial rate and onto this rate. And so as long as it's still revenue neutral, that we're not changing anything in terms of like over earning or anything like that, right? So,
Over or under.
Yes,
Yeah.
and this would only be applied to commercial EV meters, so only
Mhm.
EV would be on the, it wouldn't be the
Mhm.
building.
right,
It would
correct.
Just be
Yep, this
the,
is just for the time use for the vehicles, yeah.
Dedicated.
So if everybody's comfortable with this structure, we'll write up like a rate sheet. Share it with you guys next month, and then probably for the May meeting, we would have to schedule a public hearing for the rate at the beginning of our meeting, which is usually a formality. And then we can go from there.
That sounds like a plan to me.
Yeah.
That's good. Excellent. Yeah, I'm kind of totally on board with keeping it simple. I mean,
Yeah, we don't need that. This is the revenue analysis piece of it. Yeah, if this was the, you know what I mean, the,
right, yeah.
well, oh, it was just up there, but this is the, you know. So,
Mhm.
yep, it's all but, it's very, very close to revenue neutral.
Yeah. Excellent.
All right, obviously, so we'll try to create a rate sheet for next month. You can review it if there's any comments. And then we'll try to plan for a public hearing at the beginning of our May board meeting.
And how will you publicize this?
I think there's a requirement. I think we have to put it in the paper. We'll put it on our website. And oh, you're talking about advertising the rate itself, which is in place of
Well,
public
my
hearing.
question is just like, do you plan to do any outreach? Do you have any specific customers in mind that you?
Well, I think we'll start with Noria, the place. Yeah, I mean, they're the first ones that have actually, and probably Irving has put in some chargers. So they're probably the only places we have it right now. Probably reach out to that landscaper that,
yeah, I forget, velvet green.
yeah. But then we'll just make it available. We'll probably make some kind of announcement and let people know.
Cover.
Nori at the gas station?
Yeah,
They have
they,
two DC fast now. As part of their renovation, they put in two DC fast chargers.
and they were, because they built it after we had set they have a separate meter.
Now, would
Okay.
this would also apply to something like the head of the lake?
Yep.
For their chargers when they
Mhm.
go online.
Can put our key accounts person on it.
Yes, Liv will be in charge of publicizing it.
Okay.
And yeah, I think once it goes, having that as part of, key accounts and web pages.
Mhm.
And sharing it with our business development liaison for the town. Help attract business.
It would be helpful, I think, to speak to a potential customer, couple potential customers to see, if they would actually, be interested in this kind of a rate.
Yeah, I mean, we could share it with them. They're all on the learning curve with this too, so I don't know how educated on the topic they're gonna be. So,
Okay.
I mean, we could share with them. I think if they see that there's potential to save a little money, they're just gonna be happy with. I don't know how much
Huh.
feedback we're gonna get, but.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, I think
how
the
much
question is-
flexibility
right,
do they
how-
have with their,
Yeah.
I guess not so much the gas station, but like,
Well, I think one of the pieces we can educate them is that, we're trying to move you away from peak charging, and this this tiered rate for you would be something you would have to be mindful of and impact your price setting for your chargers.
right,
The
Yeah.
education piece, right? The way that our head of the lake, we have tiered, schedule, off peak
Yeah.
is one price.
yeah,
Peak is another price,
Yeah.
just kind of educating those, especially those that are servicing the public. That's, hey, if you go to this rate and then you change your actual charging rates based on the peak and
I know,
off
but
peak.
some businesses don't, like you say, don't have flexibility.
Nobody would be going onto it without opting onto it, so
Yeah.
you would obviously be
Yeah.
educated,
And that may be something as a business, can their chargers be flexible? I would think any commercial,
Yeah, I would be surprised if.
I would be shocked if a commercial charger
Today.
doesn't have the ability to have
Program.
time of
Yeah.
use rate programming that they could do.
Yeah, but I guess I was just assuming that rather than doing like a forum with, because each one's gonna have a different need and story. But the marketing of this might be more like on a customer by customer basis rather than like trying to get everybody in a room and talk to everybody.
Yeah, it's probably more one-on-one.
Yeah.
Because everyone's gonna be a little unique, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure that there's demand for this type of, rate,
Yeah.
way that it's being, set up.
Yeah, I mean, I think,
I mean, I know that for us, it works for us, but like, what's the value proposition for, you know, for the customer, would they be willing to, change their behavior in order to, benefit from this? I would think so, but I don't know, maybe it would be worth talking to a potential customer. Any other thoughts? So next time we'll see a tariff sheet. Okay, great. All right.
Website, Liv, you want to just give a quick update on the website development?
Yep, so we had a meeting just to kind of go over a few templates. So we took ideas from actually a couple of them that we're gonna combine. Matt, who is gonna be doing the website, had sent those over to us. I think the main things are making sure that it looks okay on a smartphone as well as a tablet and what the drop downs will look like for that. But other than that, he has our ideas now in the layout we want, so he is gonna put something together for us. I think that's kind of the bottom line right now.
Liv, you want to just share we use some templates from other industries, but some of the local stuff that we share, I know it was Reading, which were the other ones that we looked at that we kind of modeled some stuff off of?
We looked at Reading, Taunton, and Hingham were kind of the big three that we used a couple of ideas from. I think, I don't know, Joe, unless you can remember any other ones. I feel like that was it.
I think those were the
I
three.
think those are the major ones.
Yeah.
So are we gonna do a refresh, or there were two options that?
Right, so the one, we think we're gonna stay with the platform in its newest version. But
Okay,
it is gonna be almost a recreation of the website. It's not gonna be modifying the existing. It's gonna be a new website that's being built.
Okay.
The software that we're gonna use to build the website is, what's the software?
WordPress.
WordPress. So we'll be using WordPress in its current version.
okay.
Yep.
Is this how long will this take? Will this be a big project?
So I don't think that Matt has given us an exact timeline yet. I think he was kind of waiting to gather our ideas. So as long as we have no other input, he'll be able to get started. Unless Pete, did Ann give you anything else?
Not yet, not
Okay.
yet.
So yeah, as soon as we have a timeline, then we can update you on that.
Yeah, he was out of the country past couple weeks, so he's back this week, I think.
Mhm.
Great.
thank you.
Okay, so next, the letter. Regarding the clean heat standard regs. Would you like to kick us off, Jack?
Yeah, I guess so, yeah. So let's see, let me pull it up right here. So last time, obviously, Sharon and I weren't able to come up with one letter that we were recommending. And she thought maybe if we were gonna go ahead with the version I had come up with, that she might not sign it. And then she thought about it some more after the meeting and contacted me and said, well, maybe I will. And so we took another stab at it. And that's the result right here. It's quite a bit shortened from the last version. It you know, she thought, I think generally that the other, you know, my version was kind of like maybe a little too strong, maybe a little too wordy. And so we tightened it up. It seems to me that it moves pretty smoothly. And I think there's really, and you could tell me if I'm not correct, but I think there were really two things that I wanted to just bring to everyone's attention. One of them was on the second page where it's talking about the, you know, the other ways that this could be done besides going through the electric bills. And it says alternatively, IOUs could be required to enhance existing mass save programs. But MLPs could do such a thing on their own. And that's the IOU sentence is one that Sharon thought she would like to see removed simply because she thought that we should focus only on MLPs and not bother telling them what they could do with the IOUs. And my thought was, well, I could live with that sentence in or out, but it kind of the point of the letter is that we're not an IOU and that's why we're supposed to be treated differently. But it doesn't matter to me. If removing that gets us to 4 or maybe 5 signatures, I go along with it. The only other thing that I wanted to bring up is the whole question about the amount of the payments and that rough back of the envelope calculation that Joe did that said maybe it was on average $1.8 million a year over the 10 years that he modeled. And then Jen had said, well, be careful with that number because we don't know how much would go on gas versus electric. So I didn't want to get into any more detail than the 1.8 and just say the 1.8 is our rough estimate for the whole gas and electric business. But then we would just have to be somewhat comfortable that that's a number we want to throw out there unless we want to take it out. But
Well, Joe and I looked at Jen's analysis today, and I think, I mean, hers spans out over the 25 years. And I mean, if you look at the 25-year average, it's even higher.
Yeah.
So,
so yeah, so I don't know what.
1.8 is conservative. So,
Do we need to mention that then?
I don't think you need to mention it. I think we're giving it conservative. We could say it's higher, but, or we could say 1.8 or more.
Yeah. Okay. So then I guess I thought we would, you can add whatever, Sharon, or else maybe just open up to if people have specific edits that they would want to see before signing? Or is there anyone who has a position that where the person doesn't want to sign no matter what, this type of a letter?
Yeah, I would like to hear your thoughts. I think we both tried to make it Wakefield specific. Also have 3 points at a high level that we could all kind of agree upon. And then, you know, and then also just stress upon, you know, like some changes, you know, that, you know, basically what we don't like about it today and why we would be, you know, advocating for changes if this were to come to pass. And then, you know, I think that I think we're the only commission I know of that's actually taken the time to draft a letter and are considering submitting a letter. And so therefore they would come to us, I think. I'd like to leave the door open for them to come to us to talk.
Georgetown's written a letter.
Oh, Georgetown?
Oh, really?
I can imagine the tone you think it might have since I'm the chairman.
Okay, but like very few other towns, I think, have commissioners.
Mark can't get one out of Raleigh yet. So
Did all 3 of your commissioners sign it?
Oh, okay.
When did the letter go in?
he's finalizing it now, so it's gonna go in this week.
Oh,
So
good.
you wrote it after I rewrote your letter.
Yeah.
I want to read it.
Well, we want to be like, open the door to have further.
So our letter focused on the larger issue, the local control in all the buckets. We didn't just
Yes.
focus on the clean.
Yes,
Okay.
okay.
I'll go first. I think that this is a good letter that is representative of the different points. I personally am sitting at the higher level at the moment, saying that while I agree with a clean heat standard and how it, that one should be put in place, the regulatory process is incorrect. It should be coming down somewhere else other than on MLPs and even investor-owned utilities. I don't know a time and a place where an energy company, whether it be gas, electric, propane, oil, has been put in a position to tell a building owner what they're going to use for heating. I'm totally in support of those utility companies, whether they maybe be placed in a supporting role of however this comes down, like the point of sale or building regulatory, what time of building, like the specialized energy code, the stretch code, those things I think are the appropriate type of places for that. And then the final part where the impact for us is negative and isn't going to really move the needle. Our responsibility is to remove carbon out of our portfolio based on the 2050 goals. So thank you for putting this together. I know is very hard to put this in a concise type of letter and not have it be 10, 20 pages long.
So would you be willing to sign a letter?
Yeah, I'd be like, the minor edits of saying,
So you have
1.8 million plus, or, removing the alternative. If we want to remove those or keep them in, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
I mean, the letter is fine the way it is, in my opinion. Even the mentioning of the IOUs, I think might be good to leave it in there, given all the discussions that have been going on over the last couple of weeks with the Mass Save program being slashed and gas rates being dropped.
Oh, yeah,
How-
all that stuff in the news.
How we could like show the difference, between an IOU and MLP. So I'd like to see what the average for Jen's analysis is, and if that is higher, why not put that number in here and state that that's the 25-year outlook of the 2050 goal.
What was the number, Joe? Over the 25-year life, it was like 162 million.
Yeah, I think over the course of the 25 years, that's what it was. And then it looked like the average was maybe 6.8, maybe. I'd have to double check the math on that one. But when I was taking a look at it.
I guess the fear of looking too far out is I don't think it'll live 25 years. I think there'll be modifications to it one way or the other. So that's why originally when Joe looked at it, we focused on the 10-year window. Because I think if those numbers are true further out, there's gonna be either a major mutiny or so it won't stay that, So I think looking at that 10-year window was probably a safer assumption, at least more credibility.
Do we say 1.8 million on the lower end or lower end of the scale type language in there?
Conservatively.
I like the idea of
Conservatively.
Yeah.
The other thing I forgot to just mention that I think the letter does a good job of mentioning of how we're out in the front and we're I don't want to say the leaders, but we're definitely in the leader pack. And I don't know if we're number one, but we're definitely leading the way in the number of heat pumps normalized. What I said on 1,000. Per thousand.
The state's measure, at least for the past couple of years, has been households per 1,000. So, and the state average is like 6, I think, and we're at 77.
So I can go next. I think the letter is in a very good place. And I really appreciate the hard work you guys did to get it here. Like, this is really hard stuff. Really hard stuff. And I'm like shocked and so appreciative, like at the same time. Like I knew you could do it, but I was like, wow, like this is really impressive. I mean, I think so. So I just wanted to say thank you because
We worked hard
This-
together at the end to get it here.
There were at least back and forth.
Yeah, me going back to the library. Oh, okay, go back to the library.
Bad
Go
joke.
back home again. Yes, okay, go back to the library.
We could have loaned you a laptop.
Should have asked.
I will say there are two things that I
Yeah.
flagged and actually already flagged them, so I think we should discuss them.
Okay,
I actually don't know what is meant by the alternatively statement. Like, I don't know what that suggestion actually means. So I just want to get clarity on the
The
statement that
IOU.
you flagged, which is like, IOUs could be required to enhance that. I just don't know what you mean that means.
Oh, well, right now, the IOUs are told how much they have to spend on Mass Save. So they could be told a bigger number now. The Mass Save budget could be increased and it could be handled through Mass Save. That's all it means.
And then that budget would be used to serve Wakefield.
No, this would
Or
be,
this is just
yeah,
like,
this would be, do this to the IOUs if you're gonna do it to anyone, but not us.
okay,
Yeah.
that was not clear to
Okay.
me from the way statement is.
All right, so we can fix that sentence.
So either it needs to be clarified what exactly you mean, or we can remove it. I don't mind either way, but I found it confusing the way it was written
Okay.
as to how that would serve or not serve MLP, how MLPs would be involved in that or not involved. And the other thing is I am uncomfortable with putting a number. So when we say like WMGLD has done an analysis, like this is a letter coming from us. So we have to be comfortable with the number that's in here, all of us. And so I do wonder if we should look at the analysis again and then make the decision of whether we have a number, a statement about costs we can all agree on, or we don't. And maybe we leave it out if we don't, and we just say like, we're concerned about high costs more generally, or if we have a way that we want to frame that statement. So, but as is written, I'm not comfortable with putting the 1.8 because I can't sign off on that number.
Okay.
We want to make it more general, saying that, that there is a significant portion of cost that would be borne by our ratepayers that would flow out of Wakefield, and essentially kind of replacing the 1.8 million with a high cost
what do you?
or high burden.
Analysis. And pull from that.
I mean, if we're relatively close, maybe we should use the time to look at the analysis quickly, just to like.
Well, I would think we should do it right now.
Yeah, so you're all aware
Yeah.
of like what it is
Okay.
saying.
Flip that up on the screen.
So I don't know, that's her.
Joe, do you
Send it.
have access to the spreadsheet? And we can.
Well, let me so I made a few additional like clarifying graphs. So why don't
I don't have that.
Join Zoom.
I could do that, or I
Yeah.
could send it
Send it to Joe.
to Joe, okay.
Joe can load it. But you have access to your email, Joe?
I sure do.
And the other reason too is like, I don't love doing work that is not QC'd by anybody else. So like, I would actually love it if more people would, take a look at this and be like, yeah, we agree, or we don't, like, I don't want to be just out here on a limb doing this on my own.
I didn't hear what she said. What did you say?
I don't want to be the only person.
She wants us to QC her
I want you to
first.
QC.
Yeah, QC.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Well, what do we need?
So
Review, like.
all of us put eyeballs on it.
On her
On
analysis.
her, on Jen.
I thought she was saying QC on the letter.
I don't know.
Oh.
Analysis, because like, you shouldn't believe me. I mean, I hope you don't, without like.
Well, I think Jen's number was consistent with Joe's number. It was just split out between gas and electric. It wasn't different. It was.
That's what it looked when I looked at it. So I just was like.
But then so it's interesting, there is a number for the emissions reductions trajectory that I don't think we had in there.
But that,
No, we
But
focused, I think my analysis was focused specifically on the electrifications of households and
Right.
not the emissions reductions. Which I think the electric kicks on in 2030, but the gas kicks on right away, correct?
Yeah, so I put that number in there and it's massive. So it's worth looking at it, I think.
Yeah, well, yeah, let's
Just
do
being
it.
aware, 'cause it's not in there and it's big.
Yeah, but again, that, is that the point of the letter? I think you say in the letter that you're not opposed to a clean heat model that transitions people. The point of the letter is we're saying that we shouldn't be involved.
I'm just saying, like, if we're gonna put a number in there, we're getting more specific than that. Do you know, like into the actual like cost?
Yeah, I hate to make anything more complicated. I'd rather just simplify it and, I don't know, let me think about it.
But I did send it to Joe and I mean, I do think I do think
Did it
it's
come to you, Joe?
worth looking at.
Yeah, I have it.
Trajectory. I think
No,
it's
no,
informative.
wrote it.
Trajectory.
Yeah, I'll share it up. I think the difficult part about the emissions side, and maybe it's why I didn't put it in, is like there's some things that you can. The electrifications is kind of like an objective type measure, and there's penalties on the emission side too, but the way that you can calculate it and it's on a case by case basis. I mean, does stuff like having a gas moratorium, do we get credit for all of those? Like on the emission side? That's where I get squirrely about like, if we get credit for all of those, okay, then that kind of washes that away. But if we don't, then kind of where are we with that? Whereas like the electrification of households is like, it's pretty clear. It's whole home. There's no partial because I think on the commercial side or on the emission side, partial counts. So like any of the rebates that we're doing actually kind of take away from the penalty payment that we would be paying. So that's where it's like trying to figure out exactly what that would cost. I think is very challenging over a long period of time because you probably have to factor in what we already give for rebates. So it wouldn't really be an addition of us. You know what I mean? Like, because partial counts. So the 83 that we did last year, we would get some credit for that. We wouldn't get the full credit, but we would get half credit, so to speak, I think is kind of the difficult part about the emission side of things. Not to make it more complicated, but that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think you're right. Like, there's a lot of questions about this in general, like about how it would work and how to calculate.
Oh, yeah, no,
And I think that's point
That's
two after, if the straw proposal goes through where we're saying this really shouldn't fall on us, like those are things for another day, I guess would be a way.
Yeah, I think analyzing I think the focus is that it would add a large number, it would add a large cost to us, however we want to state that. It would add a large cost to our customers.
I'm assuming that once the actual proposed regulation comes out, it'll be a lot easier for us to try to estimate what these numbers might end up being.
The numbers might change too.
Right, but based on current calculators, it puts us at that number.
So I don't know if we could say something along the lines of, it's still early to predict what this is gonna cost, but we've done our own internal analysis and the best estimate we've come up with, the most conservative estimate is somewhere on the order of $2 million a year. And it just, I don't know, maybe we can just leave it at that.
I think keeping it as generic as something like that is helpful. It's on order of magnitude, it's in that neighborhood, so we could say approximately, whatever. But again, Jen's number and Joe's number match in terms of total cost, so.
Is Joe, are you pulling
I
that
can
up?
I could share it up. I didn't know.
Yeah, let's take a peek at it. Please. But the longer we discuss this, the better the chances are we're gonna walk out of here without a signed letter.
Right.
So we gotta simplify it, I think, and just.
Yeah, I think keeping
Yeah,
it simple.
I mean, I just tried to boil it down to this graph basically. So
Okay.
you just want to blow that up because it's total cost graph.
I mean, could you say millions of dollars? I mean, over the course of the lifetime of it, something like, I don't know.
So, In this, electric is in yellow and gas is in blue, just so you can see the difference. And our current spending on energy efficiency is the black line that runs across the bottom. I think it's $750,000, roughly speaking. That's what we projected for. Okay. Then you see the lighter colors of the lighter shade of each colors are your full replacements, and they're at the bottom. So the first tier is electric full replacement costs. And that's the one that escalates like up to about $2 million annually. That's what you're like mostly talking about, or, that's like the first layer. Then you have gas full replacements, which is the lighter blue. And the lighter blue, sorry. And that fills in the gap in the early years, basically up to the $2 million annually. So between the two of those, like by the time you hit 2030, that's where you are. The piece that I just added in that I was like, oh, are the emission reductions pieces, which are looks like they're valued in the draft framework at $190 per megaton. So if you literally just multiply the emission reductions, what they estimate would be our emission reductions goals by that number, this is what the darker blue for gas and the darker yellow for electric is what you get. And that's quite a bit bigger, especially over the longer term. And so that's what Pete's saying, like that's just kind of shoots out of and gets as high as like $12 million. The interesting thing is like the emissions, natural gas kind of like jumps up in the early years and then like goes away and it shifts to electric. So there's some shift between gas and electric over the time period as well.
I think part of that's the usage. It's because the analysis is based on usage. So the gas usage is going down and electric is going up. So then it kind of tacks on. That's where it's like looking at it at a 25-year. And like you'd think, and I think they said every 2 to 3 years they were gonna, at least in the regulation, they said they were gonna kind of review it and see if they needed to make changes. I mean, this to me would jump out as something that they would have to change after a certain period of time because that just doesn't drive. But
For simplification, are we okay with just taking the 1.8 and just saying millions per year and just leaving it fairly generic?
I mean, you can say that's electric and gas full replacements, right? Are basically $2 million a year.
Be specific on that.
Yeah.
You want to be?
I mean, I think you have to, because if you don't say it's full replacements, you're missing like a massive piece of the potential cost. But I think you do have to say that. You're just looking at that chunk. And that chunk alone, and the emissions reductions would be additional beyond that.
could you say also that doesn't even, not even considering the emissions piece of it or something to that effect? I mean, so you can like call it out, but saying we're specifically talking about the replacements, but that's not even to consider the amount of dollars that are going to need to be invested for the emissions requirements.
So do you want to just say that would be collected from our ratepayers at $2 million per year on average for full replacements? Or I don't know what the wording would be. What do you think would be? I don't want to.
I think generically saying conservatively $2 million or something like,
Yeah, and you can say for full replacements, not including emission reductions. Yeah.
Maybe right after the alternative compliance payment, include that language in there. Where it says have
So it would say
approximated the potential amount of alternative compliance payment for full gas and electric replacement, excluding emission cost of approximately $2 million per year.
All right, so I suggest someone pull up the file and share it, and we just make these edits and print it and sign it.
Okay. Who
Would like to do that. I have,
has the PDF? I don't have a Word version of this.
Just got it emailed yesterday, or?
Oh, it is.
Or from,
Oh, yeah.
Karen, I think.
Yeah,
Can you
so
share
I
that?
could share with you,
Yes.
bring it up on the screen. Probably gonna be easier to have, do you have it?
I'll have a Word version of it. It was
Yeah,
emailed
okay.
yesterday.
Oh,
Yeah, that's right. It
From Pete.
got hung up on my email, mailbox for a little bit.
I don't want to bring out my old computer because it's
Yeah.
very embarrassing.
oh, really?
It's very old. You see.
here's the draft letter.
Yeah, it looked like the last laptop I saw, so it doesn't look outdated to me. I look at stuff now and I'm like, everything changed since I had a job 8 years. Especially
We just
like I was,
upgraded to Windows 11 and I'm just like, oh.
yeah,
While we're looking for it, the other thing that I did in this file, which would be to talk about later, is look at like the bill impacts for like a heat pump customer versus a delivered fuels customer versus a gas customer from this.
oh, well, yeah.
And one thing I think that could be missing, and I'm not clear that our forecasts of electricity and gas actually reflect, like capture the CHS electrification, right? Because we're just scaling it up by like
Mhm.
a certain consistent factor over the whole time period, and gas we're scaling down. So that was the one question that I wasn't sure about, but whether that's just like our standard forecast or whether it actually takes into account the CHS in particular and aligns with that. So anyways, but I think what's interesting, if you don't change the sales, is that heat pump customers are not better off than gas customers any longer. And that's because a lot of these emission reduction costs are on the electric side.
Yeah.
Right, over to electric, yeah.
So you can really see that here, unless for some reason there's a whole bunch of electric sales that we haven't captured in our forecasts. Which maybe there's some, I don't know. But I think we do articulate that concern, right, for electric customers, electric rates in here.
Okay.
That big enough on the
Yeah.
screen? Or
Oh, can
on
you
that
see
screen?
that?
That big enough for everyone on
No.
a big screen?
Should make it bigger. Okay,
Or is that
too big.
Too big.
Okay. Let's see. I could put this on the end, or I could put it after ACPs. Where do you think would make most sense? So right now it says.
I think that makes sense. For full replacements, not clear.
Reductions to be approximately,
Say that again?
after reductions to be approximately $2 million, leave it with that.
Set it and get rid of that would be collected from.
Right, staff at the light department have approximated the potential amount for full replacements. And then after the comma, after reductions, just say at. You can take all, and collect it out, just say that the total amount of the payment, we've estimated the amount of payments or reductions at. And then
Approximately.
yeah,
All right.
Yeah.
Would approximate 2 million per year annually.
mhm. Oh, yeah, so that would mean taking the word that out.
Okay, so it says using the tools provided by the DEP staff at the WMGLD have approximated the potential amount of alternative compliance payments for full replacements, not including emissions reductions.
Yeah, so it has to be at, because it already says approximated up above it. But it's at 2 million per year on average. And then on average, comma, conservatively.
Uh,
Right.
yeah, I know, I don't like adding a adverb at the end of a sentence.
Yeah, that's fine.
But,
Yep, because we had said it, that we've tried to squeeze it in, but we don't have to. It doesn't.
does that make sense?
There you go.
Says full replacements, full replacements of what? Do you want to say fossil fuel systems or like, what are we replacing? You know what I mean?
Yeah, Jen.
I mean, I would say.
You know, it's kind of vague, don't you think?
Yeah, well, I mean,
They'll know what it means.
people know what it means.
You know what it means, yeah.
Yeah.
And they know.
Full gas?
They will, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's for electric and gas customers, right?
Would we say, what, for full system replacements and leave it at that? Does that make more sense or?
What did they, they said, what was the language that they used?
I mean, they just call it full replacements.
Uh-huh.
Well, I mean,
Quick
if they
question,
understand what
if we
it,
reach consensus on this, are you gonna wanna put it on the letterhead? Cause I can go get the letterhead template and send it to Tom's computer so you can merge it.
Okay,
Definitely, yeah.
Alright, that'll save us some time.
I can do
I
it.
mean, it's full heat pump
Oh,
replacement,
you got it right.
yes.
Huh?
right?
I don't have the one that says Peter Dine now.
Sorry?
But
Let me get
Full
the,
heat pump replacements
I'll
for,
just get the letterhead, the regular one.
well, yeah.
That's the one I got.
Yeah, you need a hyphen in there.
How about this? Staff at WMGLD have approximated the potential amount of alternative compliance payments to be conservatively $2 million per year on average for full heat pump replements, not including emissions reductions.
I like that.
it's short, yeah, it's concise and to the point.
Now I gotta remember what it is.
Oh my gosh, there's a lot there.
Amount of,
Highlight from there, from where you are from, all the way to
Yeah.
Send it to
Yeah,
Tom.
yeah.
at 2 million. Cut it
Right.
and paste it at the end of the sentence.
okay.
Or the other way around.
Ah,
Where you,
oh,
hold on. All right, so
you just, yeah,
we're trying to take
at,
2 million per year on average.
put it after ACPs.
At 2 million on average for full heat pump replacement.
Not including emissions reductions, but then I would just say, instead of at, I would say approximated the potential of ACPs to be 2 million. Instead of at, I put to be. No, because we have approximated,
Oh,
to be 2 million per year on average. To be 2 million per year
conservatively. Right, EL, no, that's about right.
I would put that on after the word on average. Conservatively on average, that doesn't sound right.
I'd get rid of.
I mean, we can address this by, so this sentence is a lot. We can address this by saying conservative because it does not include emission reductions and kind of move that out.
Okay, yeah,
If
okay,
we're
all right.
hard to put too many.
Yeah.
To one.
So we could say to be $2 million per year. And then just say, on average,
Comma,
this is conservative, this is,
2 million for heat pump replacement, so. Yeah, back that.
this is a current conservative estimate as it only includes full heat pump replacements.
That works. And not emissions reductions, yeah.
Oops. And not. Not include, or how would you say it, Jen? This is a conservative estimate as it only includes full heat pump replacements.
And not emissions reductions. Yeah.
That isn't like replacements. What's a semicolon?
Oh. How's that? And then it says that amount.
So you guys looked at the annual revenue from ratepayers, and for electric and gas combined, this 2 million is about 5%.
well, yeah, because our revenues are about 40, but, hold on, so $2 million per year on average, period. Space, you only got one space.
Okay.
That's a conservative estimate. As it only includes full heat estimate, so comma after estimate. Full heat replacement and not emissions reductions. Okay, so then. Now we gotta fix that, because that looks stupid.
Would that be this amount?
It would have to be at this,
You wanna just
That-
put,
this amount also
wanna just put
represents.
that, approximately 5% of WMGLD's total revenue from ratepayers in parentheses after on average.
Because I think the following sentence, I think it ties in with that previous one, right?
Yeah, and we just simplified that last sentence. I hate to throw that back in.
Yeah, just change the that to this.
Yeah, that might work. This amount also represents approximately
Okay.
5%.
Okay. This also represents.
Yeah, well, that's
That's
it's
the
funny that
suggestion.
that doesn't display up there. My, I've got to help my grammar, I've got an application AI that helps my grammar.
Oh, my God, really? Oh, that's horrible.
It made a suggestion that said, cross out the amount.
I've done experiments with that, and oh my God, it comes back with like stuff that just, like it makes stuff up because it's pulling it off of like funny websites.
Yeah, no, not that AI, no, different,
Oh, okay, all right, okay, all right.
Go pilot.
Focus.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
So I'm comfortable down to the 5%, but I'm struggling with this commercial, and if the board were to should not have, can we like just leave it that, stop at the 5%?
And take that about the 10% out.
Yes.
The next sentence would be higher electric rate may
Yes.
deter electrification in Wakefield. So we would say if.
Hmm?
So it's a lot stronger if we take that sentence.
Oh,
A lot more concise and to the
Yeah.
point.
That's fine with me.
Do you want to remove,
Like we
Yeah.
did our point and yeah,
remove this?
Mhm.
Yeah, but we don't want to remove the exclamation point.
we
Put
definitely,
that in somewhere.
part of it is we definitely do. I can't.
Well, I was surprised that nobody said anything until now. Now she says, look, give her the whole sentence, not just the
Alright,
exclamation.
so that, I deleted that.
Not down with exclamation points.
I didn't want to fight that battle. I didn't want to fight that.
I know.
Capitalized, bold, and underlined, so I am happy, proud of you for that.
Oh, thank you. All right. We still got to tackle that other sentence.
Pete did enjoy.
And then,
Did
He
he?
bolded under.
Bolded, underlined, and.
I didn't, no, I only bold. I don't underline in italics.
Kind of silly at a certain point.
That's
I
awesome.
did bold a couple things.
Okay, so can we move to the other sentence? Let's
Yeah.
keep this moving.
No, we need to finish before midnight.
Sylvia and Olivia are going.
That's right.
Olivia's got some
Started-
ceilings to sand.
Everyone started to.
Liv, you can drop off if you want. You already covered your part anyway. This is only gonna be painful.
Definitely not tonight. I cannot go sand ceilings now.
All right, on that next sentence, alternatively. So let me ask you, Jen, first of all, let's read it. Alternatively, IOUs could be required to enhance their existing mass save programs without the DEP creating a redundant regulatory process. So which part kind of bother you? Is the whole thing or the part that it mentions IOUs? Or the second part about it being a redundant regulatory process?
Well, I guess what's not clear to me is that you're essentially saying IOU should cover the entire goals, right? Should achieve all of the goals without MLP's involvement at all, right?
Oh, no, that's not what it says.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying, like,
That's what you're saying.
no, that's what I thought you just said.
Oh, that they would have to,
Meet all of the targets of
their-
the state,
all the targets for.
including the MLP's for a portion of it.
Yeah, no, because we could do the same thing on our own. I'm just saying that they can't tell us to do it.
Oh, you're.
So we
you're-
could do it ourselves
Okay, so
So you're saying
while the
that,
state forces it on the IOUs through Mass Save instead of through the DEP, because that's where the redundant policy.
And his second sentence basically says that MLPs can certainly do the same on their own.
So why don't we move that sentence up front where we say MLPs can certainly do the same under their own, enhance the rebate, enhance the programs, right? On their own,
Sentence.
while DEP could mandate IOUs to.
Okay, so we could, yeah, so what about something like this? So alternatively, IOUs and MLPs alike could increase their own energy efficiency budgets to accomplish these goals without having to have a new regulatory process through the DEP.
I personally don't like that because now you're kind of lumping IOUs and MLPs together. For the IOUs. Yeah.
And you're saying, in theory, it would still be okay with us to have to be responsible for it.
Well, no, it doesn't concede that, but okay, yeah, I don't want to
Yeah.
make them think that that's what we mean, because that's not, yeah, just like if it said that we could, that means it's our decision, not, it's not something they can force upon us. But yeah, that's cool.
So can we start with MLPs can certainly enhance their programs under their own local authority? Then we can follow it up with. So you wanna
so
just,
after,
you wanna
replace.
you wanna take this and put MLPs and then make this a new. Instead of alternative, can we just leave it as MLPs? Yeah, take out the word alternative. MLP.
Yeah, I'm not sure that the IOU statement makes it any stronger. Like, I
Yeah.
think we should end it there.
No,
I don't know.
yeah,
yeah,
so MLPs can certainly enhance
enhance their own
programs under local authority.
programs,
program.
yes.
Certainly.
Well, and I think this is saying too, that we don't have to just, we could do other things besides enhance and it's, right, it's bigger than that.
It can,
Enhance.
would you,
And-
I like where Jen's going. MLPs
create-
can,
and create, well, certainly can create and enhance
Their own incentive programs or.
their own
would it be
program.
better to say MLPs and municipalities can certainly, because I think it's bigger than just the programs. Say
Yeah.
the town can
Design
decide.
their own solutions.
Yeah, design their own solution.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you're saying both the MLP with their own town
Yeah.
together can design their own answer to the problem, and it's not just necessarily
Yes.
rebate programs.
True.
Because I think what you're talking about here is actually not rebate programs, right?
Right.
You're saying there are many ways.
Oh, yeah, it's not rebate program, right?
Others can convert at time of sale.
Well, yeah, right, but this is, yeah, okay. I mean, what this was supposed, what this was trying to say was there were two things that they could do besides the clean heat standard.
Yeah.
One is they could do it directly with the homeowners. That's what the first two sentences says. And then the second one says, or you don't have to do it with homeowners. You can do it with the utilities like you're trying to do, as long as you don't involve the MLPs. But just do it through mass.
About excluding the MLPs from this regulation.
I would delete the last sentence then.
Do we, but we still want the, without the DEP creating a redundant regulatory process.
And
And then getting rid of the IOU, we're deleting this.
Yeah. But let's take out that big capital M, that big beautiful M.
I thought we could make it all caps, underlined and bolded.
Is it in municipalities or in conjunction with municipalities?
I was gonna say in conjunction.
With their
with-
municipalities.
All right,
With their,
comma, in conjunction with their municipalities, comma,
all right, sir. MLPs in,
comma, in.
well. You could say with their municipalities.
Along with their municipalities. Along with their communities.
I think that's,
We're in the weeds.
yeah, so. So how would you change that?
I would put comma after municipality.
Yep.
There you go.
I was getting there.
Thank you.
There's a lag between typing and showing up.
Yeah, no, it's, there's definitely a lag. Can certainly, do you want to
It
say,
can also create and enhance their own programs.
Can independently.
Well, it says under their own authority.
yeah, can certainly create or do we want to just say design their own program?
Design their own.
Or, I don't know,
I think by saying programs, you're eliminating some kind of financial thing, where if you leave it more generic, because it might be laws, it might be regulations, it might be other ways we achieve the goal, not just,
Their own initiatives?
yeah.
Okay, enhance or
all right,
create.
so create and design their own initiatives.
Yeah.
So we're gonna take enhance and make that design. Their design initiatives.
Could say programs and initiatives if you want. Or initiatives, just initiatives, whatever you
I
want.
think just initiatives.
Okay.
Okay, design. Create and design initiatives.
Yes, initiatives under their own authority.
I think that's good.
Well, it's not, because the problem now is that the new ending is just dangling out there because it doesn't really, that the redundant regulatory process referred to the fact that DPU and DOER already regulate utilities and they oversee mass save. And so now with those gone, it doesn't really make sense.
So do we just end it at authority?
LPs on those.
Or just end it here?
Without the involvement of the DEP.
Or you could just drop without creating you drop redundant. Or just drop the whole
Yeah,
clause.
that's it. Like, are we just deleting?
We want to move under their own authority right after municipalities or no?
Well, the municipalities have their own authority, like we'd be working with them and it kind of says the municipality has their own authority and us.
Yeah, I think you can delete that without the
Oh,
DEP.
that one came out anyway, didn't it?
I'm fine with deleting it. I think it
Because it's
sounds
redundant.
stronger to end on under their own authority. That's kind of, and it's, that's how you end the entire piece, basically.
I think that simplifies the whole
Yeah.
discussion.
That's fine, that works for me.
Are we?
Yeah, can you do me a favor? Can we go back to the top so I can just, I need to scan it? Can you take out can you hide the
little paragraph. thing.
that's only?
You want, why don't can we take 2 more seconds and merge it onto the letterhead, print it out, and then we can, you can review it on hard copy if you want. Those little paragraph marks won't show
Go
up.
home and click home.
Yeah. Click home.
There you go. There you go, thank you.
Would it be easier to see it on hard copy or not?
Sure.
Greenhouse gas emissions reductions, how did those hyphens get out of there? Did I not put them in?
There's no hyphen between greenhouse gas.
Yeah, because goals is a noun, so greenhouse gas reduction, what was it? Greenhouse gas emissions reductions is a compound adjective, so you would need greenhouse hyphen gas hyphen emissions hyphen reductions goals, because it's a 4-word compound adjective. If that bothers people, I won't refuse to sign the letter just because of that,
I think it's,
but I would never send a letter myself.
I think it's been simplified over time to not have hyphens throughout. Like, I understand your point, but I think the common way of writing it these days is without.
I know, it's so.
He's using AI, so it eliminated it.
That I didn't eliminate that.
I can't help it.
All right, so GHG, MLP, CH. That's sweet.
You have
That's
that
what I did.
template?
Oh, you got it.
Yeah,
I emailed it to you so you can.
I'll grab it after.
Yeah, merge it, then email it back to me, Tom, and I can send it to the printer.
Okay. Do you want us to type out our names at the,
Yeah.
I already have that in the letterhead.
Oh, is that already in the letterhead?
You're prepared. You
Wait.
were optimistic.
Scroll down.
Copy and paste is what.
You
I'm
can
kidding
do it. I
with
don't
you.
want to touch your.
Ah, that's fine. I know when people are ready to.
Okay.
Oh, wait, sorry.
Sorry.
I'm not far enough yet. Thank you. Good to continue down.
I'm ready to sign it, except I would put another two, at least one more return before the word sincerely, probably two.
I thought that,
And
I thought there
then,
was something there, but you moved this line.
and then shoot up to the top. So did you already put, you said delete the date and all that stuff in there? And
Yeah, and I put respectfully, not sincerely, but.
Oh, thank you.
can close it however you want. You can
Yeah,
close it
no,
however you want.
yeah, that was something I was gonna say too, so.
Oh, that would, oh, I only shared that, yeah. So I could have been doing that. Sorry.
All right, so you have the letterhead.
Yeah.
All right, I'm good with it.
Once you merge the two things together, just email it back to Mark and he can print it.
That's being so light.
Wow.
Progress. Use this one. I love it.
I never thought we were gonna get 5 signatures on this one.
Here's the cookie.
Cookies.
Did you put something in the cookies?
Yeah,
The other option is if you want to just send it to Mark, he can go in the office and do it. If you want to send the final version.
Oh,
email it to me and I'll
I got-
right out at the.
I got it open, so took me 2 seconds.
Oh, but did we want to CC our state reps?
I think we should.
Good idea.
But then we gotta get all their names right. Do we want to do all that right now?
I'll
Mark,
give that to Mark.
yeah. He'll look it up in the office while we continue the meeting.
Put up right here.
Once he merges the document, email it to Mark. Mark, you can finish it in your office.
Who are we sending it to?
Well, Donald,
CCing Donald, Kate,
Jason,
and Jason. It's Jason Lewis, Caleb Garabedian, and Donald Long.
Just says State House 24 Beacon Street, room 167, Boston. Is that what you want?
No, we're just CCing them.
CC by name.
Oh,
Yeah,
just CC
just-
by name.
But then
CC by name on the bottom, and then we'll take care of shipping it to them. Just write CC at the bottom.
Would we just email it to?
We can, we'll take care of that.
Oh, you'll
Yeah.
take care of it?
Yeah, we'll
Oh,
take care of that.
you.
he gets the big bucks.
You put all three on the same letter? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
yes,
Yes.
so that they're aware that the others are also, yeah.
Jack will kill me if I spell Garabedian wrong.
Yeah, you can look at.
Well, she's still mad at me because I got Ken Chase to that ceremony late. She had already left. Remember with the was the,
Yeah, it was actually where it was naming, well, it was his retirement and then naming the solar app for him.
Yeah, we talked about the plaque we gave him that we were gonna name.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
How's he doing?
he's doing okay. He's doing okay.
All right, does Mark have it?
you should.
Yeah.
I mean, did
Okay,
it come
let's,
through? All right.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Next,
The review and the goals.
two of the goals.
Well, the review from, you guys usually meet, the goals might take more time. We wasted a lot of time on this. So I think we need to try to move it along. Are there any questions on the review from last time? I know Tom was the only one who wasn't here. We kind of covered everything.
I didn't have any questions on what was in the board book. I thought there was- it needed to be expanded on.
So I think what usually happens is you guys discuss the last page of the 24 review in terms of the ratings.
So, I don't remember, do we typically go offline for that or?
We will do it.
Yeah, executive session, yeah. So.
All right, so would you rather than have the goals discussion and then finish with that, so we're not coming back into
Yeah,
open session?
yeah.
Yes.
So let's move to the 2025 goals.
Okay, and actually, what's the board book is
Oh,
old. Okay,
Is this the latest?
that's the latest.
thank you.
Thank you.
Printing this out.
Thank you.
Okay,
So it's readable.
yeah, no, I appreciate this. So at the last board meeting, we said that commissioners would, if they had ideas for additions from strategic planning, they would email us by Tuesday, the 20 something or other.
Doesn't
fifth.
matter.
Okay.
I did not receive any emails. We received zero input. So,
Sorry.
hope if there's input, we can capture it tonight. Or quickly thereafter. What I did do after receiving no input was to do what I said I would do, which was integrate what we had already talked about, with Elton and I had talked about with Pete, and, that I would consolidate. So that there were fewer, we're adding in stuff from strategic planning, so we didn't want to just add and not streamline, so we have consolidated. I can now walk through each tab, so that's process. I could walk through each tab on content, but are there any questions on process and kind of where we are? My thinking is I'm not sure if we're going to be final tonight because you guys may have additional input, right, and ideas that are not yet reflected here, but I think hopefully after this meeting, we can collect those, do another update and hopefully get sign off soon. I think Pete does have, I mean, my sense is you have an idea, unless anything comes up that's like groundbreaking tonight, I think you have an idea where we're headed at least. So it's not like by tweaking a few things here and there, we're gonna be way off base. But I think what we definitely want to hear tonight is if there's any major issues, right? Because Pete needs to, it's March, Pete needs to hear if this is going to change substantially at this point.
So let me make sure I understand what we're looking at here. So last time there was an idea of maybe having 3 different targets. Now we see it's down to 2. But I see down on the bottom on several of the pages, a question. I'm assuming that these are Pete's questions and has Pete gotten answers to these questions or are these questions that?
Some are open
So-
items and some I've.
Yeah,
we've
so
addressed.
the big thing reflects Eldon, Jen and I met yesterday. So it reflects the changes from the version that was in the board book to now.
Okay.
And then there's still some open items.
Okay, so like these, so in other words, like number 1, you guys didn't agree, Pete on one hand and you 2 on the other hand, didn't agree that 5 and 6 go back to electric and gas and that's why that's still there?
No.
No.
He decided what they did. They
just-
did move it back.
We did move it
We
back.
agreed on that one.
I guess this is the final.
Oh, I thought these were Pete's, questions from Pete.
They were, and we address, as we walk.
Some of them have been addressed, some are open.
I see what you're saying.
Yep, as we walk through, I can let you know what was resolved and what remains open.
So this one you resolved.
Correct, and it's now back, yep, and it's back under electric and gas systems, yes. Because there's no 5 and 6 here.
So for this, we're saying target, no accidents and at all, no injuries is kind of the target.
I mean, overall, what came up early on is there's a big question about whether and how we could add in targets versus thresholds this year. And I think there's a question like, how would they be scored, right? Now that there's 2 numbers.
And it has to do with the contract. I think the way the contract is structured, that I don't think it allows us to go with multiple measures.
Oh,
So we most likely have to go back to having one.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, because the question is, what happens if we exceed target? Do we make more than 6%? It's like, well, I don't know that the contract allows us to give you more than the 6%,
right.
right? So if it does, if you can't get more than 6% for exceeding the target, what is the benefit of exceeding?
Or exceeding the, yeah,
Right, like,
exceeding the
what is
threshold.
the benefit of adding that in the first?
Yeah, so if you're gonna have two tiers, then,
Right.
yeah.
These are the kind of questions.
So you wanna, for outperformance, you wanna be rewarded for outperformance.
All right, so remind me now that when we were evaluated at National Grid, they had a target, a goal, and a stretch goal. And what did they do there?
And there was a threshold too. So
Yeah,
if you met the target, it was 100% payout. If you went and met the stretch goal, it was 200% paid out.
oh. And I can't remember what.
So there's an
I'm
accelerator.
confused about threshold, like, if the threshold isn't the target, then why is it even there?
It's like the minimum. And sometimes when you have two bounds, you also have penalties for not achieving the threshold, for being under the minimum. So it's balanced.
Yeah, but then there's the problem, is it doesn't match the contract, so.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I think this is the question.
Right.
I think we have to take it out, just just do one.
I think that would probably be easiest.
So is the threshold is the target, basically.
Correct.
So we just make that target.
But what does the contract call, the goals, or?
I forget.
But I guess it doesn't matter.
We'll have to look at the older
You
version,
just go back to,
the older version, yeah.
was for last year.
Well,
Well, last
hold on,
year doesn't
the
say,
24 in here.
it says measures,
Oh, man.
how, when, metric.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Doesn't say target or
Yes.
threshold. I would say target, call it a threat.
I see what you're saying.
So call it the target.
Yeah,
Yeah.
instead of threshold.
Yep.
And then get rid of the target column. But do you want to have this percent of employees trained to be 100%?
Well, I will go back and look and just
We'll have to look.
read through it to make
Yeah, I
sure
think-
that it, yeah.
Because all the other ones were,
When we look at it, it's 100%, so.
I would think it should be, there's gotta be something
All the-
that they cannot be
all the-
required to do.
Yep.
so that's where they pull these numbers from.
We can update that. I mean, once we
Okay.
go into one column, it's so easy to go back to
I
the
can,
numbers where they were.
Okay. Okay.
so on safety, not much change. There's nothing, there was no safety related to the. There are no additions here,
Mhm.
and these are pretty much the same goals carried from
Mhm.
2024 to present.
So lost time accidents is on the job, whereas personal injuries is not? Is that the difference?
Run it again.
Lost time accidents is on the job, accidents on the job, where.
No, so there's two classifications of injuries. There's basically OSHA recordable
Yeah.
or an injury
LTAs.
versus lost time injury. So you might cut your finger and need stitches but not miss any time versus a lost time injury means you can no longer work.
Okay, I see.
So those are the two thresholds.
Oh.
You were hurt, but you were treated and you're okay versus you can't
Can't
work.
work. Yeah.
We could go to the next
Yeah.
page.
Yep.
Okay. So this is electric and gas systems. Additions here are 5, 6, and 7. 5 is mostly some is moved from financial, some of it was just to kind of like align with the way strategic planning was structured. And so it was moved from financial, and also the energy park appears here and the strategic planning appears here. 6 and 7 definitely come from strategic planning. So those are new. And the big question that is unresolved is, based on strategic planning, what does 6 actually mean? Because we started talking about what goals could be for 2025, and we were not clear on what we all intended, but from this goal that we created. So that's something that we need to discuss.
So just a note on 3, it should be number of services moved outside.
Thank you.
And then class 2 leaks, it's not repaired, it's how many are active at the end of the year, so the target would be 0.
Okay,
And then class 3 weeks, the new target should be 10.
thank you.
For the number of service moved, I think we had 100. Do we want to keep it at 100 or?
Yeah, I think because we have a fixed amount, I mean, we've done anywhere from 105 to 130,
30
but
something,
it varies by the planned work. One of the issues we're gonna face this year is all that main work on Main Street. There's not a million services there because half the streets, the railroad tracks and all that, so.
That's active. It'll be 100, 0, 10.
Yeah.
Straight.
Get harder as the low hanging fruit always gets done first.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, this year's capital work on that Main Street project isn't gonna generate a ton of services as much as it's gonna generate a lot of main.
The energy park, do we agree on the install and operate? Because I don't think that's going to happen until.
Yeah.
26, right?
Well, the battery will be operated mid-year, but
I thought we were.
I thought we were gonna use
Install
the
and
battery.
operate battery
Yeah,
or by, yeah.
we can be specific, yeah.
So just
Battery-
operate
energy park,
energy
bat-
park,
Battery,
ESS, yeah.
That's
BESS.
Yep.
So 3-year capital and O&M plans, is that new?
That's what we've
Yeah,
had before.
That's what we just approved this year. It was a 3-year.
okay.
And how do we see that work? Is that gonna be a new 3-year plan every year or?
It's always a 3-year lookout, yeah.
It's updated
Okay.
annually.
Okay, so this, the third one under 5, that's going out?
Well, it's just,
I think it's a good idea to keep it in there
yeah,
and maybe the target this year is work on initiatives identified.
I mean, some things we're just keeping in and then like it says NA, right, not applicable, done in 2024. And then whenever
We decide to update it.
two
Yeah,
to 3
26
years pass, we
or,
decide to embark on it again, it would be part of the.
We just turn it on every couple of years and
Correct.
shut it off or leave it in there.
That one feels important enough not to like let it fall off, because then you're thinking, when's the last time we've done it?
Okay. Okay.
Do you wanna just make it every 3 years? Every 2 to 3 years, or do you wanna just be fluid?
We've done it more frequently than that.
Well, but it's more
years.
like a progressive,
I know.
it's not like we did strategic planning. We did some things and we've kind of grown towards it.
Yeah, I mean, we could certainly decide on the frequency we think is appropriate. That's fine. I don't think we've officially talked about it like that or made that decision.
Yeah, I mean, and we could reward it into refresh the 10-year strategic plan because we already have one in place rather than
Yeah,
conduct a
that's a
10-year.
new one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to have a fixed time, like every 2 to 3, maybe every 3.
That sounds good.
Sure.
three.
And would we also say develop your capital and O&M plans or refresh also? Just leave
It's a
it,
development.
okay.
There's new projects coming on and going off all the time. So.
Okay. So, yeah, number 6, I mean, part of it is doing that physical infrastructure assessment for like weather, like hurricane, like, natural disasters. I mean, isn't that something that
I'm not sure
does every-
what the climate means I guess.
I think when we were developing this as part of the strategic planning, looking at how climate change is potentially impacting the system, both from extreme weather events to more energy consumption. And then kind of looking at the cyber resiliency, which potentially is part of the IT obsolescence.
So I can we could definitely do an assessment from the cyber. We kind of do an ongoing assessment from the cyber and IT all the time. I'm not sure what the action on the climate and physical looks like. What is the action for that? There's some things we do all the time. In terms of system assessment, both from an operational perspective, like we do the pre-winter, we do the pre-summer, like pre-summer, we do transformer loading and identify projects to upgrade transformers if they're in danger. Pre-winter, we do the hurricanes, street by street review. We do those things routinely. I'm not sure what else is.
Yeah, I mean, I think those are good goals, but also, like looking at the lens of the changing landscape that we have, both from environmental, cyber. So as threats come, that we're kind of looking and analyzing our system through that lens. That makes sense.
So what would the measure be?
Yeah, that's
I'm still not even sure what the action is. Like we do the physical actions, we're not in a floodplain, so we don't necessarily have to worry about, ocean rise, but, severe weather is always the risk. And so those are the actions we take.
So perhaps that's something that's just ongoing.
Yeah, because you kind of have some of those things are under the manage O&M, right? The vegetation management, the capital spending, as
If we don't think there's anything for 2025, we can remove it. But I think the thing to keep in mind is that there was confusion about what we even meant by the initiative in the first place. So we're never going to be adding it if we don't know what kinds of things it would be.
Yeah, but I'm wondering, exactly on that line, that maybe we have it something like, because it says a threat and opportunity analysis. But what if it were more something like, for this time around, just document like what the things are that are done and any weaknesses that are missing in terms of what to do to prepare for a storm or something like that, and physical, which could be whatever, degradation or sabotage or whatever. I don't know, I'm just trying to think so that we have a document that describes all these things. And then maybe once we have that, we can then
deficient.
be more specific in the future about like what we want you to do and or whatever.
Maybe you're, kind of document your idea of documenting the system, what the physical system, the IT, the SCADA system, have like versions. If I'm just thinking from a hardware software perspective, from an IT perspective, like what version of SCADA are we on, and is it obsolete? Like when does it go obsolete? From software sometimes has like.
Would it be something like a business continuity type plan where
if an event would have happened, here's how we respond to it, or if a system goes down, here's how we respond to it.
Well, yeah,
Even before that, like before you can make the business continuity plan, you kind of have to document what you have first before saying, here's how we replace it. Because if, everything.
Right, so that's part of the business continuity plan, at least the way I'm used to it, is like here.
Yeah, I mean, I think,
Could be impacted and this is how we resolve it.
Document the safeguards, document the protections, and from there.
well, I think it's document with the potential.
Yeah.
I guess we can start with the potential threats.
Right.
Potential threats are, we lose transmission from both sides, so we're flat completely.
Mhm.
What are the mitigation plans? We have some internal resources, how would we use them? And then, a severe storm, a severe, thunderstorm, a severe winter
An
storm.
emergency response plan.
Yeah, we have an emergency response plan for both gas and electric, and so I like identifying the threats, On the gas side, it's a major dig-in on a major line. On the electric side, it could be anything,
Pole hit in the middle of the night with an entrapment, how do you respond to it, for example?
But yeah, identify it, document the threats, and then provide it, I mean, we can provide a doc. And then then the actions that we currently do.
Like your procedures and plans for addressing identified threats
Yeah,
and risks.
Yeah.
Do you have something like that written down, or
I mean,
it would
at a
have?
macro level, you can't get into the weeds because they're all different,
Right.
It doesn't serve itself to get, like, every storm I've ever been in 35 years has been different. Timing, severity, direction, so like, I've been in a million storms and they're all different, when does it hit? It hit Sunday night at midnight, it hit Christmas Day, it hit,
Mhm.
so those create labor issues, they create, unique, transportation challenges, contractor support challenges. So,
So on the first one, do we bound it on like an ERP plan, like an emergency response?
yeah, we can.
Everybody in agreement, or
Yeah.
at least something measurable?
Yeah.
Like Jack said, a document that we can review at the end of the day.
Yeah, so we actually have two of them because we have one for electric and one for gas.
Yeah.
With some common infrastructure around both. And the instant command structure applies to both.
And maybe for the cyber IT, very, very similar, kind of an inventory of.
Major systems.
Yeah, the major systems, where they're at, the risk analysis of them, and I think part of this is to kind of plan for, I'll pick on SCADA, right? The SCADA system goes the particular system where we're on the hardware's end of life, software's end of support life. In 2028, so we need to start to plan for those replacement costs. So just so that we can identify where those potential risks are. So
Do you want to?
We call that?
Well,
What would we call something like that? What would we call it?
So I think the inventory of the major systems and identifying end of support life or usefulness. Trying to think of. And then we can start to dovetail that into some of the ERP for maybe something for 2026 is business continuity ERP.
And I think I would think about this as not something that you would want to just like throw together and turn in and say, in a couple of months, say, oh, I got this done ahead of time. I would think that this would be something that you would just keep adding to all year long.
Yeah, it's gonna.
And at the end of the year, say, these are all the things that have come up.
Mhm.
So sorry, for my purpose, just so a cyber IT is inventory.
I think
Inventory major systems.
major systems, including, where it's relevant, end of support life, both software and hardware. These things have a shelf life. Sometimes they're measured in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. And
End of life.
Yeah, end of life, and then
Inventory along with the end of life expectation.
Yeah.
Of those systems.
and then I think just some of cyber risks with them, which I think, or does Jeff have a different cyber? Is that cyber?
There's no.
I don't, honestly, we'll be here till midnight if we
Okay.
wordsmith everything right now. It's gonna take forever to get to, we're only on page 2. I'm sorry, I'm a little frustrated. I don't want to wordsmith them all because,
Okay.
you know,
This one's one of the, I mean, I think it will get easier from here on out, actually. That was one of the bigger.
So did you, for 6, you said identify threats and risks to gas and electric systems, and then the action is ERP
ERP plans.
plans. Yeah.
Do we do it? Do we do both or just one at a time? I
What?
mean, it's busy work, so I'm thinking like, do we just pick one versus having both of them as goals?
You
For
mean
the- for
gas and
this.
electric?
No, like, do we do just climate and physical this year and then cyber and IT in 26, or do we want to keep them both in this year?
I guess it depends. I mean, in terms of the cyber stuff, I think like an inventory and like a end of useful life thing is not a big deal for, we know that SCADA has this, it's due for an upgrade here.
Okay.
You know, this one has.
Leave it as is.
I'm guessing you already have a role
Yeah.
list of that, so I think just.
Yeah, Jeff's got all, I'm sure.
I think just the goal is just to make sure that list is maintained and updated. And
We'll keep them in, fold
Yeah.
in. Okay.
I'm not trying to get busy work.
On 7, we had, what was the plan? Identify areas of potential stranded costs for gas as the goal, and then develop a plan or develop options for reducing the impact of stranded costs. What were the words?
Number 7 on that second.
Yeah.
Identify.
So for 7, we said identify areas of potential stranded costs in the gas system, and then
Options 4. The impact. Stranded costs, got it. Okay. Hang on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't get his question about participation goal.
Well, we've always talked about how much control the department has over participation.
I don't know what that means.
It's on number 3, the second cell there.
I don't.
It says track participation.
Oh, I found it. Okay.
Right.
Track
It's
participation.
always been whether to have an actual like goal for number of customers participating in our programs or
so
not.
the draft, that's why the question came up. The draft that was in the board book had a specific number goal.
Yes.
So
Well, it said, it didn't have an actual number, but it's alluded to the fact that one would be set.
yeah,
We just changed it to just a tracking metric rather than a
Yes.
goal.
So we report out on it,
Okay.
usually in the spring.
I mean, I don't know what it is. Tracking participation means whether you just,
How many?
you know how many people you sent a mailing to?
No, this is
Enrollment.
for enrollment.
stated.
Participated in the program.
Incentives, things like that. What if,
Like how many people got a rebate for
Yeah, that,
a leaf blower, for example?
okay, so this is EE. How do you all know this is energy efficiency and not something else?
So it includes all of our programs. So if we have solar programs, if we have,
Right, outreach and education programs.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah, anything and everything,
I guess I mean, so like, you guys aren't doing that already?
we are.
It should be just, I mean, how do you not know that, right? So I don't understand what the goal is.
To continue reporting out on it.
Yeah.
All right, so okay, so it's reporting, this is to report to the board on the participation.
So we
Yeah,
track
track and report.
and we track it and then we present it to you guys. Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
So a lot of
You
the,
did that mostly, anyway, we got a dashboard, there's a lot of data you're already giving us, so I don't know.
I know, so, well, the goals for the year shouldn't be 7 pages of new stuff. There's like 90% of our time is spent doing all that stuff, so that's the whole idea of getting credit for it.
He's making me list 5 things I did last week, Jack.
Oh my God. You didn't say thank you, all meeting.
Okay, when it says track participation in energy related outcomes, what are energy related outcomes?
The result, like KWH save or,
Increase.
carb,
Yeah.
Benefit.
we
We
do.
do, okay.
Yeah, these are,
These aren't
This-
Yeah,
necessarily.
yeah,
they're,
okay.
they're not new. They're getting credit for the work that they're doing.
So,
Okay. I thought,
So one-
that's fine, now we understand, but.
one of the things that we discussed yesterday with Pete is how does Pete and Mark and Dave or whoever take the roles and like roll them down to the lower level?
Okay,
So
Mhm.
somebody that is working on the tracking or the reporting of all this on a daily basis, now they know that it's part of their overall goal.
mm-hmm. It's cascaded down.
I just think that we need something that says which programs we're talking about. So it's not, it's all the energy efficiency program. I mean, that's just programs. That's a pretty vague word.
All customer programs, offerings.
Yeah.
Do you want to say track participation in
It talks about outcomes too,
Customer
Jack. So
offerings?
Mm-hmm.
the outcomes is, there's a carbon say, so as an example, like what Elton was saying, we give a rebate for a leaf blower or for a new refrigerator.
Yeah, I get that. Energy
Carbon
efficiency
save-
programs make sense, but
Yeah.
then what other programs? So like one of the things that we have you do is, have these educational sessions in the community. So let's say you do something about solar at the library. How do you track the outcome of a public information session? Or is that not one of the programs?
So those are actually,
I think it's more on the marketing.
those specifically, that is tracked somewhere else in the goals document. We have a goal of how many I think it's 2 outreach public sessions annually, but that's tracked somewhere else in the document.
Why don't you just
So
change,
that's not one of the programs included in this
Yeah.
programs.
why don't you just change it to track participation in customer offerings? It's not an info session, it's an actual
That's what I mean, yeah, so, yeah, like, yeah,
Okay.
Done.
excellent.
Anything else in customer?
I guess we're just on number 4. What, did you guys discuss anything else besides the EV rate in terms of like all the other stuff that's going on with this commissioner's thing about like alternative rate making? None of that?
Separate section.
Oh, that's in there?
Okay. The regulatory section.
Okay.
What Jack's talking about is the interagency rate working group. Is that what you're talking about?
Oh,
So I think what we talked about is that we could do that in a subsequent year, but that we probably weren't gonna do. I mean, this is my understanding,
Yeah, I mean,
necessarily like rolling out a new
not
pump
necessarily,
rate
but
in 2025.
we don't have to, but we are gonna,
you do want to put the heat pump rate in
Yeah.
there too?
heat pump rate evaluation.
Yeah.
We are gonna do
Credit for that.
Okay.
Okay.
And these things take time to develop and evolve, you know what I mean? The
Yeah,
rate discussion is.
It's a multi-year effort.
Yeah.
Well, it's over several months too, that we share the concept and we're gonna give you guys some data next month on heat pump rate and digest it and,
Yeah, excellent.
Okay, good point.
But yeah, I don't mind adding so we have the commercial EV rate and then heat pump rate evaluation.
Okay. Okay. On financial. A lot of these are tracking actual spending versus the budget. Various components that we look at under O&M spending and capital spending. The language has changed, has been modified a bit, but honestly, a lot of these are not new. I think the only one that we added in was the last one, which is the bringing in the other funding, other funding sources and the decision-making criteria. So we talked about how we're, with the federal government changes, that we're in a slow period for applicant, grants. So it might be a good opportunity to pause and think about kind of, what our strategy would be moving forward on grants.
So one of the things we signed up for is to have kind of a decision criteria about whether we're going to spend a lot of time pursuing a grant.
Yeah.
And criteria such as the size of the grant, likelihood of success, impact, so we're going to, Joe and Olivia and I will kind of develop a matrix of some sort to develop a decision criteria, whether it's worth spending the man hours pursuing it. And then in terms of alternatives, one of the things we're working on is working with Greentown Labs. And we're part of a group now that's, they're different small entities have opportunities to share with us different concepts. One of the things we're evaluating right now is putting a micro wind turbine up at the energy park. A company in Greentown Labs is trying to get some pilot sites. And so potentially we might put a micro turbine. It's like I forget what size it was. It was like 10 kW. It's not a very small turbine, but they're looking for some demonstration sites and they would install it for free. I mean, our obligation to them is to provide all the data, as we tie it in, how it's used and all the output data. So, but it would be a great asset to the educational part of it, because now we're adding another type of resource to the site. So
we could be like a POC incubation for
another project that Joe's evaluating that we're meeting with. So we met with the microturbine people last week. Next week, we're meeting with a micro battery company that has small size batteries that are testing a different technology. And could we put it at Wakefield Ave or something like that? So we're meeting with them next week to learn more. So there's other opportunities to get like low cost resources that might benefit us. So Joe's getting a lot of those from Greentown Labs now. Like people are approaching like, hey, would you be interested in hosting this?
So also, I mean, like the state, like Mass CEC, they're still putting out new grants and funding opportunities that I think the threshold is lower on those than the federal ones.
But I do like the decision-making stack rank or however you call it, like the matrices, it says, here's where we want to focus that. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Question is about like our size, right? And like how attractive we are for certain.
Well, like one of the things you heard from Raven is that we put in for 3.1 million or whatever, and we didn't get it, but then we parsed it into two separate smaller projects and we got awarded for one of the two.
Some of it is the strategy.
Yeah.
How you respond.
And the timing of the need.
You good? On? Okay. Electric and gas supply is newly named, and a lot of this was the environment, a lot of the environmental elements like non-carbon emitting resources, decarbonization, things like that. So new is number one, the coordinated forecasting. Electric and gas for 10-year forecasts. The gas peak demand initiative, reduce gas peak demand initiative through the commercial energy efficiency efforts is new. And then some of them have been just more generalized. So this section was a million, it was a lot of lines and very tactical. Originally, this whole section. So basically, now we're looking at like supporting town solar efforts, more generally, identifying opportunities to pair batteries with solar more generally, things like that.
That was one that Mark and I, as we were reviewing, we're still kind of unsure on that one.
Mhm.
I'm not sure what that means and how we would be measured on it.
Which one is that?
The batteries.
Identify opportunities to pair batteries with solar.
For commercial customers?
Well, that's the part of the
Yeah.
question. Is it
I mean,
commercial?
Would
Is
it be
it
better to maybe not identify operative, but explore programs or maybe opportunities is the correct word, on how a program might pair batteries with solar and how does that look? Is that financially viable? How, to help manage the peak? Is this something that we deploy at utility grade scale, or is this something that we're deploying at commercial scale or even down into the residential? And so maybe that's as a goal to explore those opportunities, what that potentially look like and what a program could look like.
I mean,
Is that like a energy storage strategy as far as?
Yeah,
maybe.
does it have to be paired with solar? I mean, or are we looking at more of just a battery storage strategy?
I guess.
That's why we were confused. Like, I don't know what the pairing thing means.
well,
I don't know.
I mean,
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought.
a lot of towns are, looking at pairing battery with storage for their critical facilities, like as a kind of like a micro grid alternative. I don't know if that's something the town is,
Maybe even have it like, does it make sense to have it? So, I mean, on the surface it does, but maybe a program doesn't necessarily need to have solar.
Okay, so I'm capturing identify best strategy, like more generally.
I think that's more accurate, yeah.
For battery storage, yeah, in general.
Is it identify or like develop a best strategy? Do we just want to develop the strategy?
I think that might be it.
Okay. The other
strategy for whom? Just for whom? For all
For us.
customers?
No, for
for WMGLD.
WMGLD. Like, what role do we want to play
In
potentially owning?
owning our own storage. Okay,
Or,
because it's
Well,
under
or-
customers and community.
so there,
Yeah, I don't think it just has to be owned and operated by WMGLD, but.
right.
I mean, it could even be like, here's a rebate for a commercial building to deploy solar and battery together. That gives us, we could have the ability to dispatch it for peak. Just.
Yeah. I like the idea of leaving it more broad.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wasn't sure, because this is about customer and community. Anyways.
Yeah, I don't think we have enough specifics to be more specific.
I'm just saying if it's for us and for customers and community, does it fit here underneath number 2? Should it go someplace else? Like 3? The battery is not a non-carbon emitting resource per se.
Right, but it supports the installation of them by customers and community.
Do we want to say maybe a residential and a commercial and industrial strategy on batteries where we support the customers, like with a focus of supporting of the customers and ownership of the customers, or?
That's a big project, I think.
It is, but we want to tie it to the customer.
I didn't,
Or maybe we just take the battery, just say, in the support installation of non-carbon emitting resources and which may not be a battery, just say identify opportunities to help, to better manage peaks. And that, could be any number of things. Which one could
I
be
like
a
that.
battery.
I mean, stuff might evolve throughout the
Yeah, I
year.
mean, it could be like that, the micro batteries or the micro turbine, like.
Yeah.
So, sorry, can you repeat the measure?
I think the measure is just simply, instead of putting specifics in the measure, just say, identify opportunities that support the installation of non-carbon emitting resources for customers and the community.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know what those may be, Pete,
Yeah, I mean, some of them I just mentioned, and there are probably gonna be more that come out
Okay.
throughout the year.
yeah.
thank you.
We're just striking out that.
Okay. We pulled out reduced gas customers because we talked about how we decided not to expand the moratorium, and that would be the most logical place to start.
Mhm.
So then it was like, are we gonna rediscuss that? I don't know. So anyways, I've removed it for now. You'll just see, struck.
So this one in yellow is new. What if we said, instead of reduce the gas peak through implementation, what if we said develop a commercial EE program to present to the board? Because he's not gonna develop it, get it approved, get it in place, and reduce the peak demand all this year.
Oh,
We developed a program.
we have a commercial level program, but it's mostly prescriptive. It's not like, so we have a lot of flexibility with that budget money to identify projects, and so that's where we're at right now. So we have.
The premise is reduce gas peak demand, and that's like, how are we gonna hold him to reducing the gas peak demand? I mean,
How do we
By
measure?
identifying the lowest hanging.
Right now, what we are doing is identifying the top 50 gas customers and we have Vinny and Olivia working on trying to meet with them now to identify potential opportunities to reduce their gas load.
right, that's okay. I mean, it's one thing to identify opportunities, but like, look what happened last month, right? The gas demand was pretty high, right?
It was the highest we've had in 20 years.
So you wouldn't be able to meet the goals if we have
No,
another.
it would have to be weather
We
corrected.
talked about weather normalized.
Yeah, it's gotta be.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, we could probably put in
So it's,
weather normalized peak demand.
That would make more sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess if we have a 50-degree winter next year, you're well on your way to the
Yeah.
goal.
Yeah, it was a great winter,
It can be a benefit or a curse,
right?
weather normalized.
Yeah, because like Jack said, we had a really bad year this year then.
Yeah. Well, the fourth one on the first one, for pure low and zero emission vehicles, how many do we have in mind for this year?
So we're gonna add a all-electric pickup, an all-electric van. We have all our hybrids, and we're expecting one hybrid bucket.
So 3.
That'll be coming online this year. Potentially a second bucket, but it's the way everything's been going. They're saying fourth quarter, which means next year.
Is the measuring metric, just for, would a negative score would be as if you had the opportunity, and let's just say a passenger vehicle could have purchased as a hybrid, but you went full gas, that would be a negative, like, instead of putting a number on the type of, procuring 4 vehicles, just saying like if a vehicle was purchased that is low or zero emission would be a negative where it's appropriate.
Well, I think if there's a plan, then we can put in the number for the plan and a lot of times if there's a difference and it's for a good reason, we consider that in the evaluation.
Great.
We're not mean.
May not be.
And then the last one is just adding in the economic development opportunities related to charging that we had.
I think part of what helps with that is having the commercial rate will help.
Absolutely.
And sharing that with Erin, with the town, and talking about different opportunities we may have.
Mass CEC just came out with a fleet, medium heavy duty fleet vehicle, grant program in February.
We're studying though, right?
It's for us, it could be a study or it could be also like helping to reduce barriers, or it could be mobile charging. Anyways, that's something that could help.
Can we send that along?
Yeah.
Okay, are we moving on?
All right, it's not my paper.
Yeah, so this previously was like leadership and we just really streamlined this quite a bit. And we focused it on regulatory. So we haven't really had a regulatory category before. And we're wondering if now feels like a reasonable time with all of the activity to bring it into the goals. And really, this is just around like compliance with existing regulation and just kind of like communications regarding the status of various legislation and regulation that's in process. We anticipate a ton of discussion here, but if there's anything major.
So number two here.
No.
Provide updates, that means to us, right? To the board on the status of conversations among whom and board votes meaning which board? That doesn't mean our board, right?
It does mean our board. So this is our input back to, like.
Like the letter that we
Yes,
just agreed to
exactly.
sign off.
Exactly the activity that we took tonight.
So the goal is for Pete to provide updates on the letter, on the vote that we just took? I don't understand what this is.
Okay.
Provide the update to others.
Communicate what we discuss at these meetings and move. And,
So to share the issues,
share.
like the Mass Caucus letter that went out that kind of started the whole conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So the only concern I raised with Elton and Jen is timeliness.
Mhm.
You know, I could share the information, the board's reaction to that information is, I can only represent what it.
I don't know what we're talking about. So this is,
So the number one is Pete reporting to us.
okay,
Number two is Pete reporting from us back out. It's the.
okay.
You got to look at the goals before you look at.
I know, that's why I said solicit board input, meaning our input, but that's why I'm confused. Like, this is, provide updates on the status of. So this is board conversations and board votes.
Yep.
So can we say that?
Yep.
To provide more formal comments to external parties.
Yep.
And who would, an example of external parties be?
Legislators.
theme, yep. Exactly.
We don't want to limit it because it could be other.
Yeah, yeah.
Depending
I just
on
wanna-
how legislation changes.
We had been more specific in the past, but I think we all get the point.
Oh, I understand.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure, but yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Good enough.
okay. Um. So is there a measure that you want to put there or no?
Hard.
It's very
The
hard,
target.
yes.
I think it'll be more of an as needed or as,
Mhm.
yeah, as things develop.
I mean, I can add something similar, like provide updates right to the board. As updates are available. Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, no,
Those on the
hard.
first
It's not.
In that same number.
It's not a hard measure. It's a check that this was done.
Yep.
And credit for performing the task.
Yep, complete action, exactly, not a fixed number. That makes sense, okay. We continue? This is just putting the word. That some stuff that was already in the goals in different categories. So like develop staff capabilities was here before through board presentations. And providing training already here in different sections, but now it's under workforce. The new piece is this succession plan for key leadership positions from strategic planning.
And we do
Is that
have,
something you're already working on or?
yeah, we have to create a succession plan. I mean, we have a framework in place of, like, if I got hit by a bus tomorrow, what would we do? If Mark got hit, what would we do? I mean, we have that, but it's not written out in the plan. So,
Okay.
But you also have some people that might be retiring. The next, no?
we're done. We have Jimmy Brown's gonna go this year, but the gentleman that was on, Paul, is in line to succeed him.
Okay, okay.
Then there's in each of the,
Announced that, right, Jim?
Jimmy's leaving at the end of the
Yeah.
year. Janet, we're still trying to fill Janet's job. I don't anticipate another retirement for maybe another year or two after that, because we're pretty young now. We've made a lot of progress. I was sitting in a meeting today where Vinny was the oldest person in the meeting besides.
Whoa.
Wow. I said, Vinny, you're gonna have to show the rest of them your AARP card. He's like, shut up.
Wow.
I know. That's why I had to leave the meeting. I couldn't stay any longer.
Okay, great,
All right. Good.
great work.
I do appreciate Jen and Elton's work to kind of go back and forth on this.
I do think it's more streamlined. More to the point.
You guys want to?
Hope you got a
Uh,
sign one, right?
No, we'll take a read through. If there's any final,
Okay.
Final.
that's the printed version, mark it up with a pen or a pencil. Commas or dashes that are the next thing. Did I say that out loud?
Yeah. Loud and clear, message.
Is there any way we could shrink the margins a tiny amount? Like,
Yeah, 'cause they're very-
Yeah, there's plenty of room at the bottom. And the CCs, you could,
single space?
CC in single space, but just have one CC.
And then.
And then
just
the three,
Yeah,
Just list the name.
just
yeah.
go like 1 inch on the margins on all sides.
Should the CCs have their office that they hold?
We could say state representative Caleb or state representative Donald Wong, state senator. We can fix that while you guys are meeting on the last part.
Yeah. And just, I would do I would do Wong, Lewis, then Kate.
Just write 1, 2, 3, just, yeah, right, 1, 2, 3, you know what I mean?
Why is it based on seniority?
Well, yeah, I would do it based on seniority if you guys agree, but
Fine.
Well, would,
I would do the senator first and then the senior rep and then Kate.
Yeah, so Jason will be first, then Donald, then Kate.
No, I would put, Donald's Jason's the senator. Yeah, I had it wrong. Yeah, Lewis, and then I keep thinking he's a
Jason.
senator.
Jason Lewis first?
Yeah, Senator Jason Lewis, Representative Donald Wong, Representative Caleb
so
Pergera.
just flip, yeah, flip,
Reverse the order.
yeah, reverse the order.
We'll fix that.
So I wonder if the subject line should just be like WMGLD comments on clean heat standard.
Yeah,
Works.
You got that, Mark?
No.
I'll scribble it down.
Okay.
He and I are gonna edit because we're gonna have some time outside of the room too.
Yep.
Anything else?
I didn't say anything.
I'm okay with it.
I just wonder if anyone thinks we would say at the very end, our perspective as both a gas and electric municipal utility instead of light.
Yep. I'm fine with that. I had flagged it, but I didn't want to be. Keep this here forever.
Yeah. I'm willing.
All right, we'll play with that while you guys.
That this should be a separate chat.
Give a quick, when we go into executive
I
session.
don't see the word person.
So that should be a separate sentence.
That's where I want to be.
Yeah, actually, it's.
Oh, I didn't say that.
You guys can.
I just wanted it to say electric,
Got it.
gas and electric.
Block,
Sorry, Sylvia.
Mark, we'll play with it outside the room.
and that's what you meant by,
Oh, yeah, put them back, so CC and then tab over, and all three are over there next to the CC.
Yep.
And then that comments on the,
got it.
okay.
I'll make those changes. All right. So what do you have to do? We have to go out of,
Yes, we do.
Yes, so
We have to end the recording.
Well, after we take the vote.
you
Yeah.
take a vote? Yeah, so like to.
Yeah, I will make a motion to enter executive session. And then, coming out of the executive session to simply adjourn the, public meeting.
I think you have to clarify why we're going.
Going into executive session to discuss, labor negotiations and, performance review
For 2024.
for 2024.
Okay.
And then to come out of.
And then come out of executive session,
Publicly vote.
the public.
Well, no, we take a vote, but then come out of, executive session to inform.
Oh,
we have-
oh, yeah, that's right. We have to do an inform. To inform the
Manager of our.
management staff of our findings.
I
Okay,
second that.
shall we take a vote?
Yes.
Oh,
So it's,
Is it a roll call?
it's recorded as a roll call vote, as long as you all say aye.
Aye.
We'll record that as a roll call vote, Sylvia.
Okay,
Thanks.
Okay, now I can stop.
okay. Good night.
thank you, everybody.
That might have been the most awkward,